Hello, everybody. How are we doing? Almost had a bunch of people in Discord the StreamYard link. That would have been really awkward. Okay. All right. How's everybody doing tonight? Yeah, Jim, I thought, hey, you know what? It's Friday night and see how everybody's doing. I thought I'd be nice tonight to do. Kind of make it for last night because I was kind of out of it. I'm not gonna lie, it'd been a long, long week. Especially after Wednesday night. That was kind of rough. Um So, anyways, what's the case number for this one case here? 21-50178. Okay, so yeah, we're gonna talk about a couple things tonight. One of them is the big ass whooping the Fifth Circuit just laid down on big tech. Very very, very impressive. Let's see if I can find the orders and judgments here. Hold on. All right. Lots of people fed post names in StreamYard. Yeah. But yeah, hope everybody's glad to be back. Search month. Goddamn Pacer, you suck right now. What? All right, hold on here. I just completely effed this up. Okay, hold on, guys. Sorry, I had to pull this up. All right, so come on, download. I fucking hate this thing sometimes. All right. Okay, guys, hold on. We're all set now. All right, guys. I guess if you did not learn about this, the Fifth Circuit just fucking BTFO'd big tech. Um and they finally they finally said what everybody's thinking. So we're gonna get into that. I think that's what we're gonna start off with. I think we have to start off with that because this is absolutely fucking critical. Lots of people fed post names at StreamYard, yes. Or if you know, if you're just like me, you do free fed posting when you're on. Any interest streaming with Farron and Legal Vices? I might. I mean, I know I just started this, so we can work on that. But yeah, I didn't have the chance earlier, so I felt bad. Um, Charles saying, you got a notification, and I haven't been going for 30 minutes. That's amazing. So I'm better than watching The Sopranos again. Yeah, yeah. Hey, I'll take over. Hey, I'll fill the gap. No, I don't think there's any Nick tonight. He usually doesn't do Fridays, and Joe's doing his Semitic thing that they do on Fridays, so he's not here. Obviously, you a king, bruh. I need that crown. Thank you. Well, anyways, let's get to the Fifth Circuit just beating that ass. It's very interesting. Window, where the fuck is it? Where the hell? Hold on. I think he's too busy going to his fancy art parties. Yeah. No, he's doing stuff with his kids. He's got family. Why wouldn't that? You should do stuff with your family. It's always good if you got kids. Okay. So, yeah, this is it. So, yeah, everybody's saying, yeah, you have family stuff. It's all good. Um, okay, so why is this important? Well, let's start going through this. Got released today. So it's filed today. Well, actually, it's filed yesterday, but you guys know what the hell I'm talking about. Tasha, yes, and I'm trying to figure something out because I don't know. That is a very crazy. Like it should be somewhere, and the fact it's not somewhere blows my mind. But I'm working with somebody to try to come up with an idea. And where's family too? Yeah, it's like the Juggalo thing, like family, not like family. So, so we're gonna zoom in here so we can all actually read this fucking thing. There we go. You guys should be able to read now. So the Texas statute prohibited large social media platforms censoring speech based upon its viewpoints, and that's kind of just a rough idea here. Um, and Texas passed this. Florida passed it a while back, and that got overruled, and the court shot that down. But it looks like it's going to stay here. So we're going to go forward. We're going to get down to um, and this is interesting here because we'll actually start here on page 2 from what I read. I haven't read the whole thing so far, so we'll read along together. The plaintiffs asked for, or the platforms asked that the statute be held unconstitutional and cannot be applied to anyone at any time. Um, in urging such relief, the platforms offer a rather odd inversion of the First Amendment. That the amendment, of course, protects everyone's right to freedom of speech, but that somewhere in that person's enumerated right lies a corporation's right to enumerated to muzzle speech, which is very interesting. And this is something I think you guys, if you were listening to Nick we were on Wednesday night, this is the problem here. That eventually it's not the idea of, oh, go build your own platform, go build your own Twitter, go build your own this or that. Well, then they attack your web hosting, then they attack your ISPs, they attack all the other things downstream of that. Well, eventually we're not too far away from, I think you said this on Legal Vices before, we're not too far away from people bullying your fucking electric company, bullying your phone company to get you out of the game. And what do you do then? Build your own electric company? It doesn't work. Let's say the electric company doesn't like what you say. Well, they can shut you down. So we see that, and this is the thing, and it's a staggering argument that they have the right to do that. The platforms, email providers, mobile phone companies, cell phones, bank companies could cancel the accounts of anyone who sends an email, makes a phone call, or spends money in support of a disfavored political party. Well, to be fair, the disfavored political party thing, like Bank of America and other bank companies have shut down the bank accounts of gun companies. Various smaller firearms companies that sell things, they have been shut out. The federal government worked with the banking industry to operate Operation Choke Point, which is already meant to harass Second Amendment related groups. So we're already at this fucking point, which is hilarious that they're trying to tell people, oh yeah, that's a staggering, scary thought. I almost want to tell these judges, bruh, we're already here. It already happens. But yes, if you donate to the wrong candidate, because those donation records can be made public at times. So then what does the bank do? They could start saying, we don't like you. Is that where we really want to go with this? Well, obviously the communists want that, but the rest of us, no, nobody would want that. Yes, Graham is saying, yes, build your own country. Eric the Red, yes, they literally want to bully you out of your own house. If they could, they probably would. Or they'll burn you out of it. A lot of these communist scumbags. But yes. So, yes. What's worse, the platforms argue the business can acquire a dominant position is holding itself out to everyone. And yes, I think Twitter engaged in some fraud when they did this. It's a bit of a bait and switch. where they claimed themselves as the free speech wing of the free speech party. And they centered itself as the modern public square, which they actually did. They held themselves out as that, and then they shut the door. And notice they're using cases that as of recently. Label the fall, new here, already a fan. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I don't know why the fuck I got these on right now either, because we're not listening to anything. And it's funny because then Twitter does say in its oral arguments it had here, it could turn around and ban all pro-LGBT speech just because its employees want to pick on that members of that community, which I think is a really awesome self-report. They admit they fuck around with people they don't like. If the employees of Twitter don't like you, they come after you. And they apparently think, oh, that's okay. We could have done that, but we don't. We could fuck with everybody, but we don't. Well, yeah, you just fuck with some people. And like I said with Nick, when Daddy Elon buys you guys for pennies on the dollar, I hope you all enjoy the unemployment line, you cocksuckers at Twitter. Justice is coming, and Elon's going to give it to you. And then I can get my Twitter accounts, and I'll be walking around like a free man, released from the gulag. But remember this, if you work for Twitter, a reckoning's coming, folks. Enjoy your avocado toast while it lasts. Today we reject the idea that corporations have a free-willing First Amendment right to censor what people say. Yes. Everybody likes to, and as far as I like a lot of libertarian concepts, but the idea that corporations can do whatever they want. Well, you get into like Weyland-Yutani levels of like really corrupt stuff, or even Blade Runner. You have like the Tyrell Corporation doing whatever the fuck it wants, doing all kinds of illegal shit. Why? Well, because we can. And if you have a corporation powerful enough to silence governmental leaders, do we really want corporations being more powerful than a government? No. I like the idea that government and corporations can keep each other in check. Why? Well, because that's probably one of the best ways they can, they're both titans and they both juggernauts. Well, if they have to fight each other, that's great. Although I know some people, okay, so yes, this case involves House Bill 20 from Tejas, which regulates large social media platforms. Platforms with more than 50 million monthly active users. Okay. And they talk about. Oh, hold on here. Wow, you guys are. Yeah, Eric the Red saying, yeah, it's kind of a ridiculous cell phone. Oh yeah, definitely is. Definitely is. And like, oh, we could treat all kinds of people like shit. I don't really know why are you proud of that? Why are you proud of admitting like we could just do that, but we don't? We fuck with other people. Yeah, Jim, you're saying here, yeah, that's why I think libertarians are idiots, because they always go, well, private company, whenever they get silenced, but they tell bakers they are bigots for not baking a gay wedding cake. Yeah, I don't like that with libertarians. You know what? You shouldn't, be allowed to do whatever the fuck you want. If you're they don't have to make that cake. But they aren't opening themselves up for everybody to come in and just make it. Yeah. And also, Twitter wants to hold itself out as having this ability, and it held itself out as we make cakes for everybody. No questions asked. It's free speech. Well, if you want to, do you want to be a gangster? It's time to do gangster shit, Twitter. Let people say things. Don't worry about Cuffolf or whatever the fuck, it's a fucking weird name anyway. You let a bunch of people cut their wieners off, tell you what to do. Brilliant marketing strategy. Let's see how well it turns out. Well, anyways, House Bill 20 allows you to ban censorship based upon viewpoint of the user or person, viewpoint represented in the expression or another person's expression. So that covers like reposting, retweeting, or the user's geographic location in this state or any other state. Okay. That's not necessarily a bad thing. Maybe Ohio people don't want to see people's tweets from Michigan during, Ohio State Michigan week. I don't know. Not really sure. That one's not a really big a deal. They also they talk about here rest of the law providing how things are going forward. Uh, I'm not going to cover that. I really want to see we get to the arguments of the companies here because they do get through it, and it's 115 pages, so we're not covering all of it. I'm not going to curt this. It's way too fucking long, and I'm surprised if he hasn't done this already. They talk about Article 3, so, like, if you're a sovereign citizen, it's got everything for you. You could start ranting and raving about Article 3, finding some gold fringe cases here. We get to talk about some federalism. Yay, who doesn't love federalism? Sometimes. So we're gonna keep going here. So we'll cover this part. I do think it's interesting. The platforms claim this is overbroad, and the overbreadth doctrine is a First Amendment thing. It's a doctrine applied to First Amendment issues, and I think this is very interesting here. This, okay, Tredio, I'm not going to say that. So the first concern of the overbreadth doctrine and why it doesn't apply, the Texas law does not chill speech. And that's correct. It's not prohibiting anybody from saying anything. In fact, it says you have the right to say what you want. Instead, it's just chilling censorship. So it's not, once again, there's the freedom of speech. There's no freedom to censorship. There's no freedom to stop someone from speaking. You have the freedom to speak. There can be no concern that declining to facially invalidate House Bill 20 will inhibit the marketplace of ideas or discourage commentary on matters of public concern. And I think that's correct. I think that's a very good way of looking at this. You don't have the right to censor people. You only have the right to speak. And in the meantime, the prohibitions on censorship will cultivate the marketplace of ideas. And that, would in those things, stopping the marketplace of ideas would justify using the overbreadth doctrine. So yes, this doesn't chill the First Amendment, it enhances the First Amendment. The platforms argue that their censorship should somehow be construed as speech for First Amendment purposes. They deal with this. We deal with this at multiple points in the opinion. Oh, wow, they're going forward. Sky Queen saying their argument is advertisers, but that argument is crap. They will still advertise. They have nowhere to go. Yeah. Yes, the advertisers aren't going to pass up the opportunity to be in front of all these people. That's what I think is hilarious. Like, if I worked for YouTube and I was Susan Wojcicki, I was Mama Susan, I wouldn't be a scumbag who encourages censorship and harasses people. But these advertisers say, well, we're going to go somewhere else. I would just look at her and I'd look at them and laugh and say, where are you going to go? There's nowhere else for you to go. Are you going to go to Rumble? Like, nobody goes there. You going to go to Odyssey? Nobody goes there. I'd laugh at them and just be like, Bane, it's like, does this give you power over me? You think this gives you power? Like, you have no power. I control the views. I'm the biggest show in town by far. And they would have to. They would stick around. So this idea with the adpocalypse, it's just nonsense. I can't believe YouTube bent like that. I mean, they are the big game. Yeah, I understand he's a colleague, and I'm glad you guys don't rag on him when we do. I think that's how friends, colleagues should be. That's why I respect you, Nick and Joe. Well, I appreciate that. Jim is asking, I'm wondering if Alex Jones can use this to get back on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. I don't know because I haven't read the full thing in here, but yeah, technically, maybe that covers the users because if I'm on Twitter saying something, I am kind of a content creator. I don't know how that would work. Maybe, maybe not. But yes. Yes, I'd love to see the Frogman get back on because Alex Jones did nothing wrong. Alex Jones did nothing wrong and will continue to never do nothing wrong. The man foretells the future quite often, correctly. All right, getting back to this. They say, but even stipulating arguendo, which means for the sake of argument, let's say we agree with you, that censorship can enjoy First Amendment protection. It's a far cry from the pure speech that's a core concern of the overbreadth doctrine. At most, censorship is, in the district court's words, a way that online services express themselves and effectuate community standards. Um, that censorship at most is expressive conduct for which the overbreadth doctrine only provides attenuated protection. Okay, I'm not a First Amendment scholar, so I'll leave that part. I'll defer there. Um, overbreadth scrutiny has been generally somewhat less rigid in the context of statutes regulating conduct in the shadow of the First Amendment, but doing so in a neutral, non-censorial manner. So, and the court points out that the platforms have pointed in no case applying the overbreadth doctrine to protect censorship rather than speech. To the contrary, but you have to be careful about when you make that argument. Well, there's no cases to point to it. Well, if it's I've been in that position before, and you have to just argue if this is a novel concept, then there's nothing there to talk about. Maybe this hasn't been addressed yet. Nobody else has thought of it. Now, you have to be careful when you say maybe nobody else has thought about it, because I did have a judge one time say, "Are you telling me that you've been smarter than anybody else in history that hasn't recognized this issue before?" And I just had to say, I looked at the judge without missing a beat. Yes, Judge. I think I'm the only person who's ever decided to bring this and had the temerity to bring this, or the bravery to bring this. And he just stared at me like I was an asshole. Kind of was. We lost. But sometimes you have to make the argument. So they bring up a couple of cases here: Miami Herald, Pacific Gas and Electric, Hurley versus the Irish American Gay Lesbian and Bisexual Group of Boston. That sounds like they have interesting parties. Um, the plaintiffs, and they argue that they talk about unconstitutional laws raised by a defendant in a state court. That even if these cases supported their argument, they would provide no support for their attempts to use the First Amendment as a sword. And that's true. Their censorship is the sword, not the shield. In a way that's never been applied. They also point out overbreadth adjudication is meant to protect third parties who can't undertake the considerable burden of the litigation and whose speech is likely to be chilled by the overbroad law. Courts have deemed the chilling effect on third parties worrisome when the overbroad law imposes criminal sanctions. And here there's no criminal sanctions. It's just they can be sanctioned in an administrative way. Nobody gets charged with a crime here. There are no third parties to chill. The Net Choice is a trade association covering everybody who's under this. So Net Choice is not actually a company that does this, but they cover someone. Third, the platforms argue that by speculating about the most extreme hypothetical applications of the law. The court says such whataboutisms further exemplify why it's inappropriate to hold the law facially unconstitutional in a pre-enforcement posture. Now, that's true. There are times where you're going to argue, well, the government could do stuff and go out of control and be crazy when they enforce it. Courts will look at you and say, but they haven't done it yet. And if they haven't done it, then how do you know they're going to do it? They might not do it. And this is actually something that gets cited all the time by courts. You can't bring up it's an issue of kind of, is there an issue here yet? Has an injury occurred yet? No. Well, how are we likely to sure it has occurred? If the government's going to follow the law, then what's the problem? And this is interesting here, and I think this is actually a great way to look at it. House Bill 20 was enacted to address platforms' evolution into internet censors. Yes, they went from being an open door to being the doorman. There's quite a few things they point out in here. Um, so this is great. Their primary contention, beginning on page 1 of their brief and repeated throughout and at oral argument, is that they should declare House Bill 20, and this is the internet companies, big tech arguing, because it prohibits the platforms from censoring pro-Nazi speech, terrorist propaganda, and Holocaust denials. All about Nazis and fascists. Although it's funny because terrorist propaganda, there are all kinds of terrorist accounts and pro-terrorist groups on Twitter. They primarily do it in the Arab language, but there's all kinds of accounts that support the Taliban, Fatah, Hamas, Hezbollah, the Pakistani Taliban. There's all kinds of groups. In fact, the government of Afghanistan has an account, and they are literally the Taliban, literally a group of terrorists who are now running a country. So they already do that. Anything they put out's propaganda because they're never going to say, "Oh yeah, we're terrorists, we're bad people." They're going to say, "Look at the wonders of Afghanistan." See, we take care of our prisoners before we execute them. So, but once again, it's all about the evil Nazis. Ooh, careful, they're under your bed. No, Nacho Kitty. Yes, Rumble is getting better. Rumble is getting better. Yes, I'm creating content right now. Yes, Tredio, he turned my frogs gay. HM, Alex Jones is a modern prophet of doom. Norbender, like, doomed. Nero, he doesn't tell the future, he is the future. Yes. Yes, he is 100% the future. Yes, what's happening to him is what's going to happen to anybody who they don't like. He's the first person that's successfully been unpersoned from the internet to his level and stature. Took it too far. You think so? Too far? I mean, are you sure? Space Monkey Mafia, you all messed up before I got here. Antifa, Lucas Roberts. Okay. Oh, just missed that. I don't get out of my screen. The idea you have to prove to a court that government could be deceptive and cheat is astonishing. Yes, Eric, but in the idea of any sort of law enforcement or any sort of law that gets passed, well, it's going to be abused, but it hasn't yet, and that's I actually do agree with that argument that until they do something, you haven't had an issue with it. Like they might not do what you're worried about. Just in the same way, sometimes with injunctive relief, the guy hasn't done it. Like how sure is it going to happen? I'm not as worried about that one, really. So So, far from justifying the pre-facial invalidation, the platform's obsession with terrorists and Nazis proves the opposite. Yes, yes, their Nazi fetish does not help them here. Good job. Good job, big tech. You played yourself. So they do talk about it here. And they talk about whether the law is facially invalid, we should avoid hypothetical or imaginary cases. And yes, and as the court said, you guys talked about the Nazis an awful lot. Let's be honest. Let's be honest, guys. Let's be real. Not a lot of Nazis, really. Me Nazis. Um, Yes, and they said there's a tendency to summon forth an endless stream of fanciful hypotheticals. In this case is no exception. Notice they quoted that, and there's a reason why they quote it the way they do. They're trying to say, yes, this is exactly the same thing here. So let's keep going here. Where are we at? We're only page 15. They talk about the language of the statute renders implausible many of the extreme hypothesized applications of the law. House Bill 20 allows the platforms to censor any unlawful expression in certain speech that incites criminal activity or conflicts or consists of specific threats. Not to mention any content the platforms are authorized to censor by federal law. So they're already allowed to censor threats and anybody that's trying to incite imminent lawless action, which is the Brandenburg test. So you're already allowed to do that. You're allowed to also specific threats and any other things that are prohibited under federal law. And also us things I probably assume are illegal under Texas law as well. So all they're saying is you can't say it's just stuff you don't like. The real illegal stuff you can actually get rid of, such as if you happen to be named Keffels and you tell everybody on Twitter to go bomb and attack a server farm somewhere in Ukraine by whipping up anti-Russian sentiment. That would be illegal. But somehow that didn't get stopped. So it's interesting, though. They're worried about being forced to do things, but yet they don't act when there's actually lawfully violent threats being put out. Kind of funny. Makes your noggin jogging just a little bit. They're saying the White House is terrorist propaganda since they questioned the 2016 election. Yeah. Yes. A-dubs. But it's Afghanimation. Rogue thought Nazi cloud formations are forecasted tomorrow. Jim is saying, I would have loved the court pointed out that like half the country has been labeled Nazis by the sitting president, so their Nazi speech crap is bullshit. Yes. Oh, well, you guys are just chucking along here. Unspeech is speech. Lies are truth. Weakness is power. Yes, Charles, you're correct. Yes. Everyone I don't like is Nazi. Yep. 100%, Graham. Loyal to the foil. There are too many people today that think the only free speech is approved speech. Very true. Tons of people, and that's actually on both sides. Michelle is saying, yeah, the Ukrainian Nazis aren't censored either, fuckers. I know. We give them fucking Javelin missiles and other high-grade military equipment, and we let Nazi militias go out and roam around on a war zone. You know, like real, like legitimate no shit Nazis. Like they have wolf singles on their flags and on their emblems. They have Sonarads tattooed on themselves. And they love the runes and they love the, Stefan Bandera and the Galician division. Yeah, real Nazis, like real Nazis, real ones who like talking about killing Jews and they like talking about how NATO and the EU are Jew run. God, that's probably going to, that's going to get clipped. Whew. Good job. Anyway, that happens. And we give those guys anti-tank weapons and artillery. And we strap anti-radiation missiles to their planes. Yeah. Weird times, everybody. Weird times. M2 is asking, did I catch Alex Stein on Timcast IRL Thursday night? It was rather amusing. No, I was absolutely exhausted. Wednesday night was a long night, and then Thursday was a very long day. M2 is saying, I'm pretty sure that unit is gone. They were all in Mariupol. I'm not just talking about the Azov battalion. There are multiple groups in the Ukrainian army, their National Guard, and other fighting units that are like, no shit. Like they're proud of, like, they have multiple people in there throwing that stuff up, which is fine. But the idea here in America, oh, Nazis are dangerous. Like, oh, we can't, if you're a Nazi, you're a Nazi, you can't have a Twitter account. But if you're a Nazi in Ukraine, here's a Javelin, or here's an AT-4, or here's an M109 howitzer. or here's a brand new T-72 from Poland. Like that's a problem because like those guys are legitimately real Nazis. And yes, a bunch of Azov got wiped out in the battle, but there are other units that were involved that have that were proudly known for that. I hate Illinois and Ukraine Nazis. Yes, but they don't say mean things on Twitter. Well, for now they don't. Hashtag rooting for Putin. I'm not. I hope the Ukrainians have the right to defend their territory. So I just think everybody who's got a Ukrainian flag and a sunflower in their Twitter bio and is all about the slimy ukulele, yay! And all the morons from Reddit who went over there with their cell phones and got wiped out. It just let them have their weapons. Fine, let's fight with them. Fuck with the Russians. Sure, in a proxy war, great. But to treat this as like the struggle for Western Europe is a bit much. And I'm sure the Germans are going to find that out this winter when the gas is shut off. So, and actually, you know what? I didn't think about this just now. But does Twitter filter out, or does my StreamYard filter this out that way too? I didn't think about that. So I should probably check that. JC, here's an anti-aircraft missile. A name I have seen Blue Brother. It took me a second to do it right. Yes, imagine the Nazis in the 30s and 40s distributing propaganda calling the Jews a bunch of Nazis. Yeah, that would be very interesting. Oh, HM is HM. I'm saying, and I'm saying HM is saying that he's saying that he's rooting for Putin. Okay, that's fine. Silver Smurfer saying, "Do you see where people in Lebanon are robbing banks to get their own money out?" I guess I'm trying not to talk shit about Lebanon, but like, I'm not surprised it's happening there. So I'll just leave it at that. Oh, Rogue Thought for $5. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it very much. Any voice that opposes the current insanity, I must help support. I wish it could be more, sir. I don't make enough to be called sir, and also I appreciate that though. But Biden inflation is biting my ass. Hey, thank you very much. Whatever you can give is whatever you can give. So thank you. I appreciate it a lot. But remember that Biden inflation's transitory. They said so. The government wouldn't lie to us, would they? I mean, come on. But yes, thank you very much. I appreciate it. So, you're asking, does anybody have a clue what's happening in Armenia and Azerbaijan right now? Are there real battles and stuff? Yes. Yes, they're going at it. Yes. They are 100% going at it again. I think the Azerbaijan, Russia is severely weakened now. They have they're not going to get run out of Ukraine, but they're going to have to put their full effort there. But it's not only Ukraine right now in Russia. It's Armenia and Azerbaijan, but then you also have Tajikistan and Kyrgyzstan. They are both going at it, and some of you are probably like, where the fuck's Tajikistan and where the fuck's Kyrgyzstan? It's interesting because now there are 6 former Soviet republics now going at it. And some of you might think, well, wait, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, and Ukraine are the Soviet republics. Well, there was the Russian Soviet Republic as well. So all 6 of them. There's 6 Soviet republics now fighting, which is very interesting. But yes, even the Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan issue, that's gone kinetic. They are fighting not to like full scale, but more than they have in the past. So we're going to go on here. Sorry, guys. We're going to keep going. Wow, we're bouncing around a lot. This is like a schizo stream. Schizo as fuck. Fucks. You'll get Sir so long as you don't Lucas your Roberts. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, Space Monkey Mafia. Transitory just means it goes somewhere else. Yeah, except it's not going anywhere else. It's staying right here. It's a European civil issue. Yeah, but it's because Europe doesn't like being reliant on Russian energy, but that's their fault. They could easily turn around and go full nuclear. And I don't mean sunshining Moscow. They could redevelop their nuclear industries and they'd be fine. But Germany shut theirs entirely down. France kind of got caught their pants down by like having to repair a bunch of plants because there was a safety issue at this time. But France will get their stuff back up and running. But the rest of Europe should be developing a nuclear industry, and they don't. And now they're going to pay for it. Well, because they got suckered into doing what the Green parties wanted, which I still think the Russians are still funding them and supporting them. And now they need energy. Jim is saying, as a huge Tom Clancy fan who thinks The Bear and the Dragon was an instruction manual for the future, that's a very good book. And for some of you who look at me and like think like, oh no, boomer alert. I was reading that when I read Tom Clancy in high school. A lot better than reading Harry Potter. So I want a strong Russia to be allied with China, not the opposite. Yes, and I think that would benefit everybody. Although his idea of Russia joining NATO is never going to happen. But yes, we should be trying to work with Russia, not, and I think there's ways this whole thing could have been avoided. But that's probably another talk for another day. And I probably need a couple beers of me to really lay out what I think happens. And I need somebody to kind of narrate along for me. So we're going to go forward and we're going to keep going. We got to keep moving. This is just straight fire right here. We now turn the merits of the platform's First Amendment claim. As always, we start with the original public meaning of the Constitution's text. Hashtag originalism. Ooh woo. I hope somebody clips that. Yes. Oh, Justice Thomas. Ooh woo, your wiener's so big. Ooh woo. Please don't sodomize people attacking the Constitution. Ooh woo. We need not tarry long here because the platforms, by pointing to no evidence whatsoever on this point. I mean, goddamn, wow, they are literally just taking a dump on these guys. Ooh. We need not tarry long because by pointing no evidence on this point, like, ow. This is brutal. Do not contend the First Amendment's history and original understanding provide any basis for invalidating this section of House Bill 20. Oh, I mean, I will say it's very nice the court said this 16 pages in. They didn't wait till like page 100. They were very nice about being upfront and saying, like, look, you guys are full of shit and we're not doing this. Oh. Rainbow Six is surprisingly not. Yes, HM saying Rainbow Six, a book by Tom Clancy. So if you guys ever played Rainbow Six Siege, that was actually a book by Tom Clancy back in the 90s, which had a really fucking crazy, really okay. When you read it at the time, you're like, wow, that sounds crazy. And if you read it now, you're like, that could 100% happen. Very cool story. It's about a bunch of a secret counterterrorism team having to go up against people trying to kill everybody with a virus. Yes. Yeah. You're like, huh, that couldn't happen today, but it's really good. We needed a woo emoticon. Wee woo, wee woo. Jim is saying, I just wanted to point out that Clancy kind of called 9/11 a debt of honor. Yes. That's why I don't know if he saw that when Biden was giving his speech on legal mindset. I said, is anybody else hoping for a debt of honor reenactment? Oh. All right, we're going to keep going. Sorry, I was reading along. So, let's see here. They touch on issues about licensing schemes. Yes, they have William Blackstone in his commentaries. Oh, who actually has a question about claw time, Sean Crackham? Yeah, hold on. Need to grab something then. Don't have claws anymore. Ran out of claws this week. All right, we're back. So we don't have claws, but we'll go for. I just left Farron and didn't get banned. Is it possible here? Well, the night is young. Sorry, this needs attack. But yes, this is sponsored by Budweiser. Yes, and William Blackstone and his commentaries. I'm chugging along here. Let's see. Yada, yada, yada. Anti-federalist, yada, yada, yada. The platforms neither challenge the understandings of the First Amendment's original meaning, nor suggest Section 7 runs afoul of it. Then how does it violate the First Amendment? Well, I don't know. Section 7 doesn't operate as a prior restraint on their speech, even if one accepts their characterization of censorship as speech. And this is where they go for it, and they mentioned it from Blackstone. A prior restraint is not being able to speak. The government's stopping you from saying something. Prior restraints subject all freedom of sentiment to the prejudices of one man and make him the arbitrary and fallible judge of a controverted points in learning, religion, and government. So a judge doing a gag order is a prior restraint. An injunction can be a prior restraint because now you're subject to that one person saying you can't do this. Well, that's not the case. The platforms operate the modern public square, and it's they, not the government, who seek to defend the censorship. So there is no prior restraint. They are the prior restraint. It's kind of like they are the bad guys. They started out, we're going to oppose the government, man, and censorship. They stared into the abyss too long. They lived long enough to become the thing they hate. You live long enough, either you become a hero or you live long enough to become the bad guy. And they've lived long enough to become the bad guy. What am I drinking? Oh, We're having a couple of road pops tonight. Yes, Nero saying that Heinlein and Starship Troopers predicted the expert figureheads. Yes, he did. And if you guys haven't read it, I really do recommend it. It's not a bad book. It's a very good book. A lot better in the movie, but the movie's not bad. Second, Section 7 doesn't prevent anyone from expressing their good faith opinions on matters of public concern. It protects people's ability to express a diverse set of opinions through one of the most important communication mediums used in the state. It also leaves the platforms free to similarly opine. They can still say whatever they want or decline to say anything about any post by any user. And we already see that. When you make a post on Twitter or some of these other places, they might say, this might be a fact check. This might not be right. Or we have concerns about these topics. Like they do those stupid little flagging posts. They already do that. Except they just want to be able to wipe you off instead. And that's where they've pushed to. Moreover, the exceptions where they talk about threats of violence, malicious bad faith speech are not protected by the First Amendment as originally understood. So there's other things that you're still allowed to do and attack the traditional speech that isn't recognized. Ones that call violence and the other types of things that are predicted. Yes, they become the very thing they sought to destroy. So, the platforms instead they claim are focusing on Supreme Court doctrine. And under that, they're claiming that their rights have been burdened. How so, you might wonder? Now you know this is getting really bad. This is bad when the court's just fucking mocking you. Well, the platforms contend when a user says something using one of their platforms, the act of hosting or rejecting that speech is the platform's own protected speech. Thus, they claim they have the right to reject speech, and that's their protection. They reject. The court says it's undisputed. You want to eliminate speech, not promote it or protect it. Oh. Uh-oh. What's this? Oop, hold on. Important shit. Oh, cool. Nice. And no amount of doctrinal gymnastics can turn the First Amendment protections for speech into protections for free censoring. Oof. God damn, that is blistering. I like that. That is just, it's like Gordon Ramsay levels of spicy. So Supreme Court precedent includes the right to freedom of speech, includes the right to refrain from speaking at all. You can't be forced to say someone else's message. And that's true. The right to have an attorney is the right to not have an attorney. The right to keep and bear arms includes the right not to keep and bear arms. You don't have to exercise these rights. If the government asks you, we want to come into your house, can we search? You can let them. You can say no. You can exercise the right however you want to. If the government asked if they could keep troops in your home in a time of peace, you could let them if you wanted to. You can't consent to cruel and unusual punishment, but I guess technically, you could, I guess, theoretically. I don't know how that would work legally. But yeah, I got the beers out tonight though. Who the fuck's that Brandon Lesko guy though? It's time to drink, buddy. And I caught up. I drank them all live to make sure we were caught up. So the state may not force someone to speak someone else's message. But the state can regulate conduct in a way that requires private entities to host, transmit, or otherwise facilitate speech. Were it otherwise, no government can impose non-discrimination requirements on, say, telephone companies or shipping services. nor could a state create a right to distribute leaflets at local shopping malls, which is really kind of like when you're on Twitter. If you're standing out in front of the mall handing out information, which you have the right to do at times. Because now they're going to, if you had taken cases on the First Amendment, this is actually a very interesting one that's gone on. Vineyard Shopping Center versus Robbins. In California, had a law protecting the right to pamphlet in a privately owned shopping mall. So yeah, it's kind of like Twitter, isn't it? So I guess it's not, but private property doesn't completely stop when you let the public in. First Amendment doctrine permits regulating the conduct of an entity that hosts speech, but it generally forbids forcing the host itself to speak or interfering with the host's own message. So yes, they're not forcing the mall to speak or letting the mall engage in its message of engaging in consumerism, but you have to allow people to speak if otherwise they're not disrupting it. Some pretty good arguments here. They talk about a couple other cases here. Miami Herald involved a Florida law when a newspaper criticized the record of a candidate. The newspaper must offer the candidate equal space in the paper to reply. And this was a right of reply. Kind of like that douchebag Twitter account that fucks with Nick all the time. That violated the First Amendment. If the newspaper chose to speak about a topic, there was no penalty, except if it was a political candidate. And then it was penalized with the cost of printing and composing materials. Yeah. The interference would disincentivize the newspaper's speech. So just like the mall, you can't force it to speak or hurt its primary goal. And the newspaper's primary goal is to sell newspapers. That's the point of all news, to make money. Oh, hold on here. Nero saying you can consent to BDSM, so at least unusual punishment. Fair enough. The court also concluded that the right of reply meant you had to speak the messages it opposed. So once again, you're forcing someone to speak. Even if it's something you agree with, you can't be forced to speak. But it's even worse when you don't agree with the message. Yes. And then we get back to Vineyard and Robinson. This one is a buzzle speech. Did I say buzzle? I thought I said muzzle. Sorry. Yeah. I had a stroke like Fetterman. I can't speak well. So in Vineyard v. Robbins, it involved students at a mall, and I remember this one, so I remember covering it in law school. They were students passing out pamphlets at a mall, and they were trying to get signatures for petitions. In California, allowed you to speech and petition in shopping centers, even when they were privately owned. That the mall objected, saying they have a right not to be forced by the state to use the property as a forum. And the Supreme Court said, no, doesn't work like that, boss. JC, Sean, please sign this consent form. What am I consenting to, JC? Oh. So it found the state law enforced no penalty based on the speech, and the mall could disavow any connection with the people that were passing out pamphlets. And the same thing if people are picketing, you can say, we don't, the people at Vineyard Mall don't agree with this. And they can say, people at Twitter, we make no agreement with everything that's said here. Just like when I normally get on someone's stream. The opinions and statements made on this panel do not reflect the opinions and views of the host. So that happens a lot when I talk. So, and they can simply post signs in the area saying we don't agree with anything said here. And to the contrary, the mall was open to anyone. Twitter's open to anyone, really. And for the state law, there's no specific message dictated by the state to be displayed. They're just saying you can't stop anyone from speaking. They're not enforcing a particular message. Oh, Isaac Baruch's wholesome gabagool art. Yeah, some capicola sounds good right now, by the way. You're like, of course does, fatty. Yes, I know. Potentially heart attack with that stroke joke. Thank you for the support, by the way. I appreciate it. So, yes, and they go down to PGE. PGE is Pacific Gas and Electric. And if you remember that name, yes, they caused all the wildfires out in California that killed a ton of people, and nobody went to prison over that. Kind of fucked up. Just a little bit. Kill a ton of people and burn down a ton of towns to nothing, and nobody gets in trouble for it. Makes you wonder. So anyway, PGE in their bill, they'd send a monthly newsletter. And in appearance, it had, like a small newspaper, included all kinds of things, editorials and matters of public interest, alongside energy conservation and about utility services. And, and the California Public Utilities Commission, who worked with PGE to cause all the issues that cause all these fires and kill people, and none of them are in trouble either. Decided to apportion the billing envelope's extra space and permit a third-party group representing the ratepayers to use that space for opposing messages 4 months per year. Anyways, the Supreme Court said that the court can't force them to speak because it's just like the newspaper. Pope Brackets touch me. Fuck PG&E. I've been trying to raise awareness about how California politics are deeply involved with them. Yeah, it's a big mess. Isaac Baruch saying, God, capicola sounds good right now. I know it does. Space Monkey Mafia saying the arson line follows the boring tunnel. Ooh, that's a good dat. Ooh, Daddy Elon starting the fires. That's spicy. Isaac again saying PG and wall. Oh. Utilities are hanging maps, is putting maps on walls is now a utility. I could support that. I would gladly get billed for that. Getting billed for the cost of making holes in the walls and then spackling over those holes in the walls for the next round. So they get through all of that, and they, we'll get back to where here. Hurley talks about the gay lesbian alliance of Irish people or something. I forget about that one. I don't remember that off the top of my head. I don't remember my First Amendment law class 100%. They talk about Rumsfeld versus the Forum for Academic and Institutional Rights. Yeah, we're going to get through here. Where do they shit all over the people here? Yeah, okay, good. Sorry, we had to get going. Daddy Elon, I will hear no bad words. Jeez, you guys. So yes. Oh fuck, where'd it go? Oh damn it, I missed my spot. Where'd I end at? Okay. Yeah. Under these precedents, a speech host should make one or two showings to mount a First Amendment challenge. It must show that the law challenge either A, compels the host to speak, or restricts the host's own speech. Okay, so yes, you have to either compel them to speak or restrict their own speech. The platforms cannot make either showing. And C, their arguments are unpersuasive. Okay, I didn't get this far when I read it earlier. Holy shit. Wow. I've never crashed and burned that bad in life, but when the court makes its extra holy shit. When the court adds an extra prong saying, and here's another prong, we don't buy what you're selling. Ow. I mean, ooh, ooh. Oh god, if I had the laptop lid, I'd just be like Antonio back there. It's just ooh, ooh. That's good. That is fucking good. Denzel is he's I'm just checking his this life was all the ABC groups and General Millie dancing around in Melania's clothes, just wondering everything was redacted. Yeah, General Millie's dancing around in her panties. Probably would be. Probably would be. Yes. I'm offended for my soldiers. Pussy. Um, the platforms are not like the newspapers. They exercise virtually no editorial control or judgment. The platforms use algorithms to screen out certain obscene and spam related content. This court's like kind of up on the tech, which is very nice to see. Even though these are more likely boomer judges. And virtually everything else is just posted to the platform with zero editorial control or judgment. Um, Something well north of 99% of this content never gets reviewed further. The content on a site is to that extent invisible to the platform. Ooh, they're just, yeah. Oh, God, they're hitting them hard. And this looks like this was the Florida case here, Net Choice versus Moody. Ooh. The platforms, unlike newspapers, are primarily conduits for news, comment, and advertising. Um, and that's why the Supreme Court has described them as the modern public square. And Thomas, once again, big old Clarence. I'm working on a video I'll be dropping probably tomorrow in the morning about the Second Amendment and where we are at this point because there have been a lot of updates. And I think the aftermath is far more interesting than the immediate ruling that they did in Bruin. But yeah, Clarence just keeps killing them, kids. Just keeps killing them. Platforms are unlike newspapers in that they hold themselves out as organizations that focus on distributing the speech to the broader public, which is not what newspapers do. They distribute their viewpoint. In this case, it's different. Um, the platform's own representations confirm this. They've told their users, we try to explicitly view ourselves not as editors. We don't want to have editorial judgment over the content that's in your feed. They told the public that they may not monitor, do not endorse, and cannot take responsibility for the content of the platforms. They told Congress that their goal is to offer a platform for all ideas. And they've told courts over and over again they simply serve as conduits for party speech. Oh, oh yeah. Holy shit, they just fucked them hard. And they have the site this paragraph right here. Holy shit, that is just straight fire. And what do they do? Oh, I think this. Oh, just reading this footnotes very interesting. To the extent these representations vary between the platforms, that further cuts against the propriety of this facial challenge. To establish standing, the plaintiff has to assert the district court the suit does not require individualized facts about particular covered social media platform. Um, so the platforms may now not rely on individual facts to claim that, for example, one platform operates like a newspaper, even if the others don't. Ooh, wow! They just called him out. Just called him out. Mm. But yeah, they've told people over and over again in court rulings, in court filings. Oh yes, and they talk about Clayman v. Zuckerberg out of the D.C. circuit. Uh oh. Um, then the testimony of Mark Zuckerberg, CEO of Facebook, in front of the 116th Congress. Oh, got him. Ooh, got him. Holy shit. The robot burned him down. They used the robot's own words. But yes, guys, this right here is what they got hoisted on their own bullshit. And these are all the citations for it. Oh, beautiful work. Beautiful work. It's no answer to say, as the plaintiffs do, that an observer might construe the acts of hosting speech as an expression for support of its speech. So, yes, the court's saying that's not our fucking problem. The Rumsfeld court dismissed that concern out of hand because even school children. Yeah, but that Rumsfeld court didn't realize the kind of retards and morons we'd have running around now. So, yeah, times have changed a little bit. Know the difference between sponsoring speech and allowing it. I mean, shit. How many people think words are violence? Yeah, totally a problem. That's precisely why even the platforms concede that objective observers would not conclude that platforms intend to promote terrorism when they host terrorist content. Ooh. Looks like another filing they made, Northern District of California. God, they're just letting them talk themselves into a fucking corner. Beautiful. So they end up making arguments with Hurley, and like I said, we didn't cover Hurley here. You read it later. Oh, Pope Brackets for $2. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate your support. Watch Firepower and Money doc to see PG&E corruption. And there's a lot of corruption on PG&E. JC, woo, woo. This is a Sean woo stream. The Paradise Fire was started cause of a metal hook, probably costing $20, not changed in decades. Now PG&E hires a third party for maintenance to escape liability. Well, yeah, it was the hook, but they also just didn't trim lines. They caused all kinds of problems to save money over the years. It helped more than broke his. Hey, there's no anything people do, I always appreciate. So, thank you for what you've done. So, I hate PG&E if you couldn't tell. No, I really couldn't. I thought this was like kind of like a love hate. Like, you make Pope Brackets cries to PG&E. You make me hit you. I love you so much. Graham is saying college kids are dumber than school children. Yeah, probably now. So they point out that the platforms are not like hosts. They don't pick content to make a collective point or abstract points or what merits celebrations. Rather, as long as you agree to the boilerplate terms of service to communicate on any topic at any time for any reason, and as noted above, virtually none of this content is meaningfully reviewed or edited in any way. Boom. Nor can they point out that they do censor and claim that makes them like parade organizers. Yeah. If a platform censors a user post, the expressive quality of that censorship arises only from the platform's speech, stating the platform chose to censor the speech and explaining how the censorship process expresses the platform's views. Well, they don't actually explain how that expresses their views. They just censor shit. So Twitter gets away with that one. They then keep going on to say, first, the platforms have virtually unlimited space for speech. So there's nothing prohibiting them from saying what they want. And yes, Twitter can say whatever it wants all the time. Doc Brewski for $1.99. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. You were great on Nick's stream the other night. Thank you. I wasn't really sure. I was having fun. But yeah. Yeah, and all of a sudden you look down, it's like 5:30 already. So it's kind of cool. So let's see here. And they keep going. So when a speaker's own message is affected by speech, it is forced to accommodate. The speaker may invoke the First Amendment to protect their own ability to speak. Okay, well that's fair. By contrast, and this is where they're pointing out the newspaper and other things, including the newsletter from PG&E, space restraints on digital platforms are practically non-existent, unlike what newspapers, cable TV companies, and many of the other platforms invoked. And that's true. You can only have so many channels. You can do whatever you want on the internet. For this reason, the platforms can host the user speech without giving up their own power or right to speak their own messages. Second, the platforms can say whatever they want to distance themselves, and that's true. They can say we nothing said on here is the views of Twitter or whatever company, Twitter Incorporated or Twat or whatever. After all, any speech host could always object that its accommodation for speech might be confused for a coerced endorsement of it, but the court has rejected that forced affiliation argument previously, and they have never overturned it. In Rumsfeld, I forget in Rumsfeld, and they talk about nothing suggests that law schools nothing recruiting suggests that law schools agree with any speech by recruiters, and nothing in the Solomon Amendment restricts what the law schools may say about somebody's policies. So the platforms remain free to expressly disavow, distance themselves, or say whatever they want about any expression they host. For example, the platforms can add addenda or disclaimers containing their own speech, which they do. Remember during COVID, this contains misinformation. Here, learn more. They're allowed to do all those things, and they've done them before, which I think is hilarious. The court citing what they can do, and they've already done it. To users' posts, and oh, wow, okay. Many of them already do this, just dramatically underscoring that Section 7 prohibits none of their speech. God, that's what I get for not fucking reading this ahead of time. I'm already answering my own questions. So, Section 7 does not create a special privilege for those who disagree with the platform's views. There is no right of reply. Rather, it gives the same protection to all viewers, all users. Very different. The platforms seriously don't dispute any of this. Okay. Instead, they argue it interferes with their infringing right to exercise editorial discretion. Their premise is that editorial discretion is a separate freestanding category of First Amendment protection. Premise 2 is the platform censorship efforts continue and constitute editorial discretion. So their conclusion is Section 7 burdens our First Amendment rights by obstructing their censorship efforts. Both premises in that syllogism are flawed. I said jizz. Premise 1 is faulty because the Supreme Court cases don't carve out editorial discretion as a special category of First Amendment protection. Once again, I don't like the fact that nobody else has recognized it before. It doesn't mean we can't now. I understand it's an argument to make, and great, it's working in my behalf and my views right now. But I don't always like that argument because everything according to any legal standing theories we have now, at some point, we're brand new somewhere. So I don't like that. Instead, the court considers editorial discretion as one relevant consideration when deciding whether a challenge regulation compels or restricts protected speech. Accordingly, the plaintiffs cannot invoke editorial discretion as if uttering some sort of First Amendment talisman as uttering of a First Amendment talisman to protect their censorship. Were it otherwise, the shopping mall and Vineyard and law schools in Rumsfeld could have changed the outcomes of those cases simply by asserting a desire to exercise discretion over the speech in their forums. Instead, the plaintiffs must show that Section 7 forces them to speak or interfere with their speech. Of course, how the plaintiffs do or don't exercise editorial control is relevant to this inquiry, as it was in the Miami Herald case, but the platforms can't just shout editorial discretion and declare victory. Premise 2 is faulty because even assuming if discretion is a freestanding category, the censorship here doesn't apply. All spelling is a spell. Yeah, I know. Oh, Isa, hi, how are you doing? Even assuming editorial discretion, sorry. Curiously, the platforms never define what they mean by editorial discretion. And then I love this. Perhaps this casts further doubt on the wisdom of recognizing editorial discretion as a separate First Amendment protected expression. Oof. Good job, boys. You bring it up and then you don't define it. Yeah, that makes it easy for a court to ignore you. Although, to be fair, I have made that argument before in a brief, not at the appellate level, thank God, but I've made an argument in a motion before a court, and I didn't really do a very good job explaining it. And yeah, the court's like, well, to be fair, we were going to lose anyway, but the court's like, well, it must not be that important if it can't be explained. So instead, they simply assert they exercise protected discretion because they censor some of the content and use algorithms to arrange and present it. But whatever, the plaintiff's censorship fails outside it for two reasons. First, entities that have editorial discretion accept reputational and legal responsibility for the content they edit. Section 230 gives them the ability not to be bound by that. If we remember, that's always been an issue because if it's under Section 230, they're not responsible for what's posted. For newspapers, editors and editorial employees determine the news value of the item received and take responsibility for the accuracy of the items transmitted. And editorial discretion comes with committed legal responsibility. For example, because of a newspaper's editorial judgments in connection with an advertisement, it can be held liable when actual malice and it publishes something defamatory in an ad or in a story they write. They have to cover that. Books do that. Magazines do that. Okay, god damn it. I'm like, I have not really read this, but I'm like arguing. I think the court must have listened to me argue about this before or rant about this one night when I was drunk. Wiretap my phone because this is exactly what I've said. The plaintiffs strenuously disclaim any reputational or legal responsibility for the content they host. They quote the platform's adamant protestations. They have no responsibility for the speech they host. And then part 3, discussing the representations pertaining to Section 230. Yes. Yes. And once again, they're finally being called out on other bullshit. A court has recognized it. Well, we're editorial, so now you're going to be liable for everything. Oh, no. 230 says we're not liable, but you just said you're editorial, like a newspaper. No, that's not what we mean. Like I said, they box themselves in with all their comments. They also point out that discretion involves the selection and presentation of content before it's hosted, published, or disseminated. The platforms don't choose or select material before they transmit it. They engage in viewpoint censorship for only a tiny fraction of the expression they've already disseminated. The platform offers no Supreme Court case even remotely suggesting that ex post censorship constitutes editorial discretion akin to ex ante selection. And that's true. You publish and then Twitter removes it. You don't have to submit it to Twitter and then get it published. God, that would be awful too. Instead, they baldly assert that it's constitutionally irrelevant at what point in time the platforms exercise discretion. Yeah. Not only is this not supported by any authority, but it also turns their ex post censorship into ex ante review, which typifies editorial discretion in every other context. So they do point out that is a big thing because the algorithms and their own censors remove messages after you publish them. You don't submit it to Twitter and Twitter approves it. Kind of like if you get on a message board and you haven't been on there before, initially at the beginning, your posts have to be approved sometimes. Well, this is different. Well, you guys are just chugging along here. I'm hoping somebody corrects me and knows what the First Amendment, Second Amendment is. Freedom of speech, even if smelled, it's called the Second Amendment. Edit means delete. Disclaim does not nullify existence. Loyal to the foil for $2. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate your support. Subbed, keep at it, and thanks. Well, thank you. Appreciate it. Doc Brewski, yeah, they've been playing both sides of this card for years. And I think finally some of these courts are calling him out. But also, when Clarence Thomas not last year, a while back, laid out, here's how I would take care of this if I were you guys. The Supreme Court is very likely, I think, going to have to call them to the carpet on this. And yes, I would not want to be in front of Clarence Thomas. He would grill the shit out of you on this at this point. I think a lot of the Supreme Court will, because there is so much doublespeak. Graham is pointing out the second protects the first. Hell yes, it does. 100 fucking percent. So they're pointing out, even if editorial discretion is a legal category, it's far from clear why content arrangement and censorship should be the criteria for qualification. And even if that's the case, the Supreme Court's never recognized discretion as a freestanding First Amendment protected area. Rather, the applicable inquiry should whether Section 7 forces platforms to speak or interfere with speech. Section 7 does neither of those things, therefore passes constitutional muster. Ooh, you just love to see it. They then comment on the so they do comment here. This footnote 18 does talk about what the dissent suggests. And goddamn, I mentioned it, and they bring up the points that early online forums and message boards often pre-approve all submissions for transmission. Yes, like I said, some too, depending on if they're small enough and you're new. And that's editorial discretion. We have no doubts, and moving on, we have no doubts that Section 7 is constitutional. But even if some were to remain, Section 230 would extinguish those doubts. 230 says the platforms are not treated as a publisher or speaker of content developed by users. Congress's judgment reflects our conclusion that censorship is not speech under the First Amendment. Why? Well, because the platforms do not operate like traditional publishers and are not speaking when they host user-submitted content. God, I think this is right here. Clarence Thomas was going to, if this goes to the Supreme Court, you're seeing Thomas quote and pull from not only stuff he's written and said before, but I guarantee you he's pulling heavily from this opinion. I mean, this is good writing. This is some good shit, folks. So they talk about Section 230 and they keep on going on about it for a while. We keep going. You know, the platforms respond that they are in fact speakers and publishers, and that Congress simply instructed courts to pretend they aren't for purposes of publishing related liability. Moreover, the legislator can't define what constitutes speech under the First Amendment. Otherwise, for example, it could abrogate Miami Herald simply by defining newspapers as not publishers. Because the legislator may not define what constitutes First Amendment protected speech, the platforms argue 230 has no bearing on any constitutional questions in this case. That is some fucking Olympic level gymnastics right there. You know, this is all protected by the First Amendment, but we really aren't those things because Congress says we're not. Well, then how does that work? Yes, the legislator can't define what speech is or what's not protected by the First Amendment, But it's also relevant because that's not what Section 230 reports to do. The First Amendment generally precludes liability based on the content of someone's speech or expression. Defamation liability for publishers is one of the several exceptions to this rule. But 230 creates an exemption from that exception for the interactive computer services that fall within its scope, including the platforms. And it does so by stating they shouldn't be treated as publishers. Thus, 230 is nothing more or less than a statutory patch to a gap in the First Amendment free speech guarantee. Given that, it's strange to pretend that 230's declaration the platform should not be treated as publishers has no relevance. Oh, add me to your redirects. I'm going to bring everyone here. Oh, fuck. I got to do some boomer stuff. I don't. All right. Hold on, Farron. YouTube Studio. Okay, hold on. YouTube redirects. How to use your YouTube live redirect. Google help. Okay. Create a live stream, kick edit, customization, redirect, click add. Choose a premiere, search for another channel's live stream. Oh, okay. Okay, I can do this. I can do it. Live. Okay, come on here. Let's see. Customization. Redirect. Add. Okay, hold on, Farron. All right, we're getting this, girlfriend. We're getting it, girl. Also, Farron, if you want to join, I can send you on StreamYard. Or I'd send you on fucking search for videos from other channels. Farron balanced. Oh, Farron, it's already done. You already canceled. I can't redirect you. I can't redirect. Sorry. Yeah, you have permission to raid. Yeah, Farron, you already ended it. I can't. Can Sean do it? No. She already ended it. It's too late for me to do that. Pin the link. Yeah. All right. Well, hold on. I'll send this to Farron. Do you want to? Hold on. I'll put up my thing. Fuck. Jeez, I just boomered this up so bad. So bad. So bad. Mr. Boomerbastic. So fantastic. It's like Shaggy was sending that to me in the future. All right, we're going to get back to this. Farron boomered it. I can try. Scott Cardinal, thank you for being here. Also, guys, Scott does really great storytelling, especially with his pacing and everything. So give him a look. You might like what he's got going on. Drop shields, prepare for boarding. So, oh crap, we got to get back to this. So given all that, it's, they point out that moreover, Congress's determination do carry weight in constitutional adjudication. Congress's finding on essentially factual issues are, in course, entitled to a great deal of deference. And Section 230 reflects Congress' factual determination that platforms are not publishers. Once again, yeah, not looking good for the platforms. Not looking good for them at all. So the platform's position in this case is a market shift from their past claims. They are simply conduits for free speech, and whatever might look like editorial controls is in fact the blind operation of neutral tools. neutral tools, but they've also admitted in their briefs to this court, we can censor and attack groups however we want because I'm a private company. Shouldn't have said that probably, but good job. So two amici briefs argue the platforms therefore judicially estopped from asserting estopped means you're prevented legally based upon legal precedent, including things you may have already stated. You're estopped, prevented, barred from asserting their censorship is First Amendment protected editorial discretion. Okay, sorry. Judicial estoppel is a common law doctrine and prevents a party from assuming inconsistent positions. Okay, so yes, you're barred from stating that because you have already stated that. You stated the opposite. Now that's different in a case if you're trying to argue inconsistent theories or inconsistent facts or allegations. That's different. But if you've already made and stuck with something all the way through and made it a determined fact of law, you can't go back and say, well, that doesn't count anymore. Every once in a while, you can say that. Once again, stare decisis is not a suicide pact, but it is meant to be important. So let's see here. So crap. We are at like the stream if you haven't. Yes, please do if you do like it. That's a shit. Where did I get on here? But in any event, the platform's frequent affirmation of Congress's factual judgment underlying 230 makes us skeptical of their radical switcheroo. That in this case they are publishers, and that's true. How long have you heard this? Must Section 230, and they beat that drum ragged. You know, how many times have we heard that in the past 2 or 3 years? Must Section 230, must Section 230. Well, now they don't want it to work, and they're saying, oh, that's fake. That's not correct. Well, you got to pick a side. So, they keep going. Hold on. We need to refuel. So the platforms claim Congress sought to give them an unqualified right to control the content they host, including through viewpoint-based censorship. That they base this argument on Section C2, which clarifies they're immune from defamation liability if they remove certain categories of objectionable content. Court points out that's not how this is meant to be. So rather than helping their case, C2 undermines their claim they're akin to newspapers because it articulates Congress's judgment that platforms are not like publishers even when they engage in censorship. And C2 allows them to remove things, limited categories of obscene, excessively violent, similarly objectionable expression, and things like we talked about before. They still have to follow rules and laws regarding what they're not allowed to publish, threats, calls to violence, and other illegal things like, child pornography. Although if you're some people, maybe like Kevils, that might not be a bad thing for you. You might like that. If you're a fan of walls and going up against them, you might like some cheese pizza on Twitter. So we keep going here. They start talking about the common carrier doctrine here in Section E. States have the power to impose non-discrimination obligations on communication and transportation providers that hold them out to serve all members of the public without individualized bargaining. Well, and this is one that people have said before, they need to be treated like common carriers and utilities. They are firms of tremendous public importance that hold themselves out to serve the public without individualized bargaining. They do. And they say, come get, be heard. Twitter probably is proud that so much news gets leaked on it. And Section 7 imposes a basic non-discrimination requirement that falls comfortably within an historical ambit of personal common carrier regulation. Yes, they finally make the arguments that Bogey, are we drinking? Fuck yeah, we're drinking. We are drinking. We are drinking. We are still drinking. It's so good when it hits your lips. So good. Especially after a long week. So they keep going down through the common carrier doctrine. And oh my God, they are just lighting them the fuck up here. We're gonna get to the good part. We're gonna cut the foreplay and get straight to the sex. The common carrier's duty to serve without discrimination was transplanted to America along with the rest of common law. Like I said before, we were talking about sovereign citizen things. Look, the common law, it's got everything for people here tonight. It's got its first real test with the rise of railroad companies in the second half of the 19th century. And this is true. Rail companies did use rate differentials and exclusive contracts to control industries depending on cross-country shipping and structuring contracts to give allies like the Standard Oil Company impenetrable monopolies. And yes, if you go back to the time of the late 19th century, there were a lot of things called trust busting, the Sherman Antitrust Act. There were all kinds of problems of corruption because of those issues, and the government had to get involved. And the courts found that these discriminatory practices violated the railroad's common carrier obligations. Like I said, going back to 1874, the carrier can't discriminate between individuals for whom he will render service. This was like I said, guys, this was a big problem. Railroad companies, they operated with goddamn near impunity back in the day. I would say if you ever watch the show Hell on Wheels when they're trying to go through an area and the guy won't give them the land, you know what usually happened? They come back with some Pinkertons and burn your house down and kill you. And then they build the railroad anyway. The railroads have immense power, even still today in America. For example, the railway workers are covered under the Railway Labor Act. There's a specific labor act for railway workers that's independent of the National Labor Relations Act. So they operate in their own world. They operate in their own world on a lot of levels. And there was actually a big rail strike that was going on that was about to happen, along with the longshoremen. So yeah, if you ever want to read some interesting stuff, read about the railroads and the legal protections they have. They have so many of them, and it's a vestige of their power they had back in the day. Because back in the day, Union Pacific, Burlington Southern, insert who else, Conrail, CSX, they had a ton of power, tons of power. So, the telegraph was the first communications industry subjected to common carrier laws in the U.S. Invented in 1838, the telegraph revolutionized how people engaged with the media and continued with each other for the next half century. But by the end, legislators grew concerned the possibility of private entities that control this technology would use the power to manipulate the flow of information to the public, when doing so served their economic or political self-interest. Huh. Those guys are pretty fucking smart. It's like they saw this coming. I mean, really. Good for them. Yes, number one private landowner in the United States is the railroads. Collectively. Yes, we're buying your land or we'll kill you for it. Yes. They did whatever the fuck they wanted. Doc Brewski, yeah, that's some Nostradamus shit. I know. Yes. Back when the legislators were people who were worried about what the government was going to do. Back in the day. Yeah. Yeah, imagine that. So, yes, for example, Western Union, the largest telegraph company, sometimes refused to carry messages from journalists that competed with its ally, the Associated Press, or charged them exorbitant rates. And the Associated Press in turn denied its valuable news digest to newspapers that criticized Western Union. Wow. God, it's like we've seen that before. I mean, really, It's like we've seen this shit before. I mean, holy shit. I mean, really. This is like some Nostradamus level shit. And God, it's like it's happened before. Western Union also discriminated against certain political speech, like strike-related telegraphs. And it was widely believed that Western Union and Associated Press influenced the reporting of political elections in the favor to promote the election of candidates in their direction favored. No way. I mean, you're telling me like that's never happened since then. I can't believe they only did this back then and they haven't done it since. I mean, thank God we can trust the media and all its groups to work together, and certainly they wouldn't deplatform political figures and try to censor them or censor news stories related to an election. Certainly they would engage in election manipulation or other kinds of corporatist horse shit like that. No, they'd never do that. Oh, history rhymes. This is more like a fucking cover. This is like a cover rendition. Oh. Yes, so the New York Times was accused of trying to influence the close presidential election of 84 by misreporting and delaying the transmission of election returns. I mean, like, I'm reading this along with you guys the first time, like, holy fucking shit. Wow. I mean, god damn. This isn't even like, hey, let me copy your homework, make sure you change it. It's just like, I'm putting my name on your fucking homework and turning it in, bro. God almighty. I will give them credit, though. That takes a set of balls to delay election return results. Whew. But in 1884, God, that's back in the day enough where, like, your house might get burned down and you might get, like, lynched by the town for that or run out of town and tarred and feathered. Oh. A name of some sort. Wait, what's this about Anderson Vanderbilt? Yeah. Yep. Yeah, Anderson Cooper, member of the Vanderbilt. Yep. Yep, the CIA operative. Oh, Zero Fox. Cancel culture runs deep. I mean, fuck, I didn't realize it was that bad, but God almighty, cancer culture's got some got some long legs. Let me sell you the beta. Yeah. The beta this corporate conspiracy. We didn't start the fire. Never ever promise. Yes, it is a cover. Um Joe Biden was there. He remembers the plan from Pokey. Yeah, that's pretty fair. Yeah, him and Corn Pop. They're like, oh, we can remember when they did that. Furby Slayer, the super chat for $2. Thank you very much for your support. I appreciate it. History doesn't rhyme, it's plagiarized. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Jim is saying history does rhyme, but this is more of a reboot. Yeah. Yeah, it is. HM saying get wrecked commies. Yeah, we haven't wrecked them yet, but we're working on it. So in response to all this crap, states enacted common carrier laws. Telegraph companies were required to receive dispatches from and for an individual and on payment of their usual charges and transmit the same in good faith. Okay, that sounds good. New York further required companies to transmit all dispatches in the order which they were received, which that's good too. Congress ultimately mandated that telegraph companies operate the respective telegraph lines as afford equal facilities, all without discrimination, favor against any group, person, or company, corporation, or whatever. The Telegraph Lines Act of 1888. Yeah, that's nice. So, when courts looked at these, they talked about it. Did the carrier hold itself out to serve any member of the public without individualized bargaining? Yeah, there's no, you sign up and agree to the boilerplate terms of Twitter, Facebook. To bring a person within the description of a common carrier, he must exercise it as a public employment. He must undertake to carry goods for persons generally, and he must hold himself out as ready to engage in the transportation of goods for hire as a business and not as a casual occupation. Ooh. And that is from a legal commentary on bailments. And bailments are when somebody's looking after your goods for you. So when you ship something through that's a bailment. They are taking care of it for you to get it somewhere. And so that's how bailments work. Or somebody, you know, somebody house sits for you. Technically, that's a bailment. They are watching your property for you and protecting it. God, you guys are getting like some of the real douchey legal education shit tonight. Jim, I love you, Jim. Free helicopter rides for all of them. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, always. Always, 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 always. Always. Hold on. Emoji. There we go. Proper guys, there's the proper sequence. Helicopter, person, ocean. That's how you do it. 3 simple ingredients. So, back in 1885, a lawyer sought a writ of mandamus to compel a telephone company to put a telephone in his office. That the telephone company had to do it because they had undertaken with the public to send messages from its instruments, um, and it promised to supply one to persons requiring it or interested in getting one. Because the company had undertaken that to the public, they couldn't arbitrarily deny it. That's Jack Riley saying that statement in that document is what defines a common carrier. That's going back to like 1878 and how they initially defined a common carrier. But as technology went along, they came up with other ways to do common carriers. Jack Riley saying better ingredients, better law, potentially criminal. Oh, meat candy, the right of Mandango. No, we're not talking about Drex. No, we're not talking about Drex. Man was into some shit before Pornhub. Yes, he was. Super Iron Bob for $5. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate your support. Helicopter rides are expensive. They can afford to pay non-free mandatory rides. Remember, like the graph shows, at some point the helicopter fuel does pay for itself. So if you get rid of enough commies, yeah, it will pay for itself. Just it's a slow investment. It's kind of like a frack well. It takes a long time for you to get all your money back, but you will get it back. You just have to hang in there. It's a long-term investment. Can't bail. So let's just see here. We keep going. We're gonna keep going here. Bum. Come on, let's get to skip some more of the humping here. Okay, yeah. So Texas permissibly determined the platforms are common carriers subject to non-discrimination regulation because the platforms are communication firms, hold themselves out to the public to serve without individualized bargaining, and are effective with the public interest. To state the obvious, they're communications firms. So apparently the platforms claim we're not members of the communications industry. Well, okay, sure. The platform's own representations confirm this. For example, Facebook's TOS indicates its purpose is enabling users to communicate with friends, family, and others. In that sense, the platforms are no different than Verizon or AT&T. I mean, shit, what's YouTube's motto? What's YouTube's motto? Isn't YouTube's motto broadcast yourself? Yeah. Yeah, hold on. Yeah. They're not in communication. Really? Really? You're not in communication here. Pretty sure you guys are. I mean, that's YouTube's motto. Broadcast yourself. Well, guess what? Okay. I mean, look, we're doing this right now. This is telecommunications, folks. We're engaging. We're communicating through tel- tel- telephonic means, although communications in general. So, I mean, just fucking owning yourselves, boys. Come on. Scoring these fucking own goals. Let's go. Let's go, YouTube. Let's go, Facebook. Come on now. Can't be doing this shit. YouTube taste. YouTube. Hold on. We got to do this. YouTube. Taste your ass. Space Monkey. YouTube. Just be more gay. Yes. This public communist freefall is brought to you by Pfizer. Communism is an infection of the mind and spirit. Well said, JC. Well said. I'll drink to that. Senor Spielbergo, I love your films. I love your collab with Mr. Burns, by the way. Broadcasting is a means of communication. No way out of that. 100%. The plaintiffs also hold themselves out to serve the public. They permit any adult to make an account and transmit expression after agreeing to the same boilerplate term of service. Thus, they've represented a willingness to carry anyone on the same terms and conditions. Oh, although Twitter, I think there's been issues with Twitter being involved in child sex trafficking. So that's not 100% they permit any adult because they allow, if you follow Eliza and all that, all the shit going on Facebook and Twitter, yeah, they're not doing a good job of just making sure it's adults. You should work on that, guys. The platforms resist this conclusion, arguing they have not held themselves out to the public equally. That's because they contend they're only willing to agree to business with users who agree to their terms of service. Yeah, if I hop on the train, I have to follow the train's rules. If I hop in a taxi, I have to follow their rules. It's not just like, it's not Ancapistan in the back of a taxi. Maybe in Vegas in the 80s it probably was, but not right now. But requiring compliance with reasonable rules and regulations is never permitted a firm to avoid common carrier obligations. The relevant inquiry isn't whether they have terms and conditions, where they offer the same terms and conditions to any and all groups. Put differently, does the company make individualized decisions? And on what terms do they make people deal? Here you have to follow. Well, okay. It's undisputed the platforms apply the same terms and conditions to all existing and prospective users. They don't, though, because they abuse their TOS all the time. And also, Nick Rekieta, who is now free, by the way, glory be unto the Pope for being no longer excommunicated from YouTube. The rules are not 100% equally enforced, even though we all agree to them. It also doesn't help with YouTube that half their fucking rules we don't know about. Or for Twitter, Facebook, the Book of Faces, we don't have all the rules. But they supposedly make us all agree to them. Boof doof, GG. Senor Spielbergo, Mr. Burns never paid you for the movie. Aw. It was a good one, though. The crowd was chanting Boo Earns. Let's see what else. NBC is a broadcasting company. Broadcasting companies are regulated by the federal, I'm sure you meant Communication Commission, um, commutation commotion. Is that a correct statement? State me, counselor. Yes, they are governed by the Federal Communications Commission, but they are also using public airwaves. It's a little different because Twitter's not broadcasting and the internet's not covered by the FCC in the same way. You know, Doc Brewski, you're right. For fuck's sake, Instagram is a play on Instant Telegram, 100%. JC, they have a shadow rule book. Yep. Super Bob is saying the rules we agree are not the rules enforced. 10,000% agree. The platforms argue that they're not open to the public because they, do censoring. Well, the court says to the extent they are not common because they filter and vile obscene, vile, and spam related expression, this argument lacks any support. For example, phone companies are privileged by law to filter obscene, harassing expression, and they often do so. I've never heard of the obscene phone calls. I guess I don't know how do they filter them. I don't know. Guess they have because this is a court case cited. Yet they're still regulated as common carriers. Similarly, transportation providers may eject vulgar and disorderly passengers. Yeah, I can ride the train and be an asshole, and they can still throw me off if I don't follow the rules. That is kind of like a removing, or if you're naked, you can't ride the plane. Well, it's obscene, so they kick you off. Yet states may nonetheless impose common carrier regulations prohibiting discrimination on more invidious grounds. So they claim that they're engaged in viewpoint censorship, which, no 900 numbers, maybe. Maybe, but I mean, they still exist, though. So, anyway, getting back to this, I think we're almost done here, guys. We can talk about people in Massachusetts learning to speak Spanish. The carrier's contention that they engage in discrimination is a bit of amnesia. Telegraph companies once engaged in extensive viewpoint discrimination, but that didn't immunize them from regulation. Rather, it made such regulation all the more urgent. And nearly every other industry subjected to common carrier regulation discriminated against their customers and sought the right to do so. So like they said, they keep asking for the right to do it. Man, this is the exact same thing over again. The platforms offer no reason to adopt a historical approach under which a firm's existing desire to discriminate against its customers somehow gives it a permanent immunity from common carrier obligations. Texas also said they're effective with the public interest. Numerous members of the public depend on social media platforms to communicate about civic life, art, culture, religion, science, politics, school, family, and business. It's very true. Twitter, Facebook, there have been entire revolutions in the world that use Twitter. They use Telegram. Well, Telegram's actually based. They don't restrict anything. But any other groups. Facebook and Twitter have been used part of the Arab Spring that's so brilliantly supported, which was a fucking disaster, you ask me. But groups do it. But apparently not now. That's not okay. The court's modern public square label reflects the fact that in-person social interactions, experiences, and economic undertakings are increasingly replaced by interactions and transactions hosted or facilitated by the platforms. And that's true. The platforms want to dominate your life, but then, well, we're not the public anymore. Yeah, it's not fair. It doesn't work that way. It shouldn't work that way. If anything, the platform's position as the modern public square has only become more entrenched in the 4 years between Packingham and the Texas legislators' findings. Hell yeah, it has. Even more so. And dependence on the platforms has continued to increase more and more and more. 100% agree. I do like, this is nice. The centrality of the platforms to public discourse is perhaps most illustrated by the multiple federal court of appeals decisions holding that replies to a public official's Twitter feed constitute a government public forum for First Amendment purposes. Yes, and that public officials cannot censor you from Twitter and remove you and block you. They have to take it. You know, like when you talk about AOC and that big juicy booty on Twitter, if you go into her page, she's gonna take it. Ugh. That big Latina ass, that big juicy booty. These decisions reflect the modern intuition that platforms are the forum for political discussion and debate, and exclusion from the platforms amounts to exclusion from public discourse. Yeah, like when you ban fucking politicians. Huh. And for many, the platforms are no less central to quotidian discussions about matters like school, family, and business than they are to debates about politics, science, and religion. You know, the platforms play a central role in economic life. For those who traffic in information, journalists, pundits, and the like, access to platforms can be indispensable to their success. The platforms are the most effective way to disseminate news, commentary, and other information. 100% true. They are breaking the back of the rest of the news industry. Finally, even peoples and companies who sell things often lean heavily on the platforms to build their brand and market their products to consumers. Also, asshole lawyers from Ohio who try to start YouTube channels do lean on that. I mean, I don't know who would do that, but I've heard things maybe. That's why the platforms which earn their revenue through advertising are among the world's most valuable corporations. It's also true that each platform has an effective monopoly over its particular niche of discourse. Many early telephone companies didn't have a legal monopoly, but they monopolized their geographical area due to the nature of their business, which ended up with Ma Bell and broke up, became the Baby Bells. While no law gives them a monopoly, network effects entrench these companies because it's difficult or impossible for a competitor to reproduce the network that makes an established platform useful to its users. Once again, Clarence dropping the bombs back in 2020. Go start your own platform. Doesn't really fucking work. And he finally acknowledges it. Oh. Senior SB better go. It was a nice booty. Yes, it is. Pope Brackets touched me. I'd rather be called a dirty whore in chat than get DP'd while being called a dirty whore and put online. Super Bob. Legal Eagle is from Ohio. I'm sorry. Yeah, let's go with that. That's who I was referring to 100%. Oh. Jim, don't sell yourself short. You're not an asshole. You're almost as much of a dick as Ricada Law. That makes me feel better. You notice. You guys have noticed. I've tried so hard. I'm working on it. We'll get there. Some noseless, less Semitic things from Nick, but you know, I'll keep the drop fades going. Maybe we'll eventually do a half track stream on the way to Minsk. You know, to effectively monetize, say, carpet cleaning instruction videos, a real niche, one needs to access YouTube. Alternatively, sports influencers need access to Instagram, and political pundits need access to Twitter. Thus, it's no answer to tell the censored athlete, as the platforms do, they can just post from a different platform. As Thomas aptly pointed out at night, that's like telling a man kick the train, he could still hike the Oregon Trail. Oh, God, people are finally understanding. These judges are getting it now. The entrenched market power thus further supports the reasonableness of the determination the platforms are effective with the public interest. First they claim regulations are permissible or disfavored because the government's contributed to the monopoly by licensing the monopoly or acquiring property for the carrier through eminent domain. That's obviously wrong. American courts don't follow and require a government-controlled monopoly. Even if the platform is right, the government hasn't conferred a major benefit by enacting Section 230. Section 230 made it possible for every major internet service to be built. By their own admission, the platforms are just dependent on 230's liability shield, as the railroad companies were on the ability to traverse land acquired via eminent domain. That's the argument from the companies. They also require a couple different precedents going forward. Now you talk about then Judge Kavanaugh. Brewski Brett, this one's for you, brother. I like beer too. Although I'm not a little homo who runs a, he should have really said we should have had like grenade launchers and vending machines, bro. But you didn't. You had that chance. If I got on the Supreme Court, I'd be saying that. Why don't we have vending machines full of grenade launchers? What? We should. Should be able to go to Home Depot and pick up a cruise missile. So they go through and they talk about why they're entitled to it. And third, they're arguing that they're not engaged in carriage, which is the common carrier doctrine. Because the common carrier was initially about the transportation of property. So literally the common carrier just said, the platform said, actually, the common carriers carry cartage and they were bailing personal goods. So it's not what we do. We carry literal things, actually. And you have to be careful when you use those arguments in court, because if you're down to arguing, actually, you're not having a good day. There is no basis for the wooden metaphysical literalism. There is a distinction between literal carriage and the process of data obviously would not fit the doctrine. Were that the case, the telephone and telegraph companies couldn't have been regulated. So to make that work, they're asking them to argue that this is separate from telegraph and telephone companies. And that wouldn't work. It would make no sense. The word game both defies law and logic. First, there's no doctrinal support. These guys are common carriers. They offer no support for that. There's no logical historical basis to adopt this framework. After all, it would have prevented the common carrier doctrine from even being applied to a more sophisticated medium than it began with. And that would be basically telling them you guys shouldn't have broken up Ma Bell. And you shouldn't have regulated telegraph companies. So literally it would ruin everything. That if they can regulate as common carriers, it goes beyond the scope. They claim that social media is too complicated. No, it's not. So the platforms are asking that the long technical march from ferries and bakeries to barges and grist mills to steamboats and stagecoaches to railroads and grain elevators to water and gas lines to telegraph and telephone lines to social media platforms. The social media platform is a point where we have to cut that off. And it's too complicated. The government can't regulate it. They don't buy that. As they state back in 2011, freedom of speech, like the First Amendment, do not vary when new and different medium communications appear. Yeah, because of that actually does set them up for a problem. Oh, you're saying that the laws don't affect here. Okay, well, does that mean you guys get the First Amendment protections? So you want the protections, but you don't want the obligations. Doesn't work that way. They keep going about how they blow up the common carrier arguments here. God, how long have we been talking about this? 2.5 hours. Jeez, I've been going on and on about this. I don't know. You guys want to bounce on to something else? We can in a second here. But anyways, they just keep going. They keep running a train. Oh my gosh, they take the platforms and they're rotisserie this right now. Oh, child. This is This gets rough. This gets rough. They just keep going. They just keep going, and they keep going. Page after page. Oh, this is judicial bukkake. Mm, Yeah, I don't know. Kirk can keep going. Ooh, ooh. They just keep going. When do we get some when do we get the bukkake? Okay, here we go. So here we go. The First Amendment protects speech. It generally prevents the government from interfering with people's speech or forcing them to speak. The platforms argue because they host and transmit speech, the First Amendment also gives them an unqualified license to invalidate laws that hinder from censoring speech they don't like. And they say that license entitles them to pre enforcement facial relief against the law. We reject the platform's attempt to extract a freewheeling censorship right from the Constitution's free speech guarantee. The platforms are not newspapers. Their censorship is not speech. They're not entitled to pre enforcement facial relief. The law is constitutional because it neither compels nor obstructs their platform's own speech in any way. The district court erred and abused discretion by issuing a preliminary injunction. That injunction is vacated in this case and remanded for further proceedings consistent with this opinion. So they're saying that there is no longer an injunction, but I think it's very clear from the way they wrote this. If the district court doesn't handle it, we will deal with this on appeal again and fucking overturn it. But boom, there you go. Jizz on the face, all over the glasses. There you go. Lick it up, Facebook. Lick it up, Susan. Clean it off your face and get the fuck out. Oh. BTFO. God, that was a nuking. That was a nuking. Oh. So what were we talking about tonight? Oh. Space Monkey Mafia doing 187 pages when an ape could do in 10. Yeah, but sometimes you have to just keep beating the shit out of somebody. So it takes time. It takes time. Let's look for twatter responses from all the censorship sims. Oh, yeah, we can. Let's see what we can find. AIDS. AIDS? I mean, like, are you asking, like, anybody want AIDS? I don't know. Does this mean we could constantly see the old West return? I don't think we're going to get that, but, we'll get something out of this. We'll get something out of this. So, dicks? I don't know. Dicks out for Harambe? Diox? I don't know. So, in case we'll move on to the next thing here. So if you guys were not aware, Governor Ron DeSantis from Florida, and I only have one left. Yes, you got to ration those dicks carefully. Chrome tab. Guess we'll start here with The Guardian because it's interesting using a non-American source for news. Yes, peace be upon him. Yes, Governor DeSantis, who is the Florida man for every man in America, decided to send a bunch of illegal immigrants to Martha's Vineyard, which is up in Massachusetts. And for those of you who aren't aware, Martha's Vineyard is very hoity-toity. It's up in the nice part of Massachusetts. And actually, if you don't have a map, Vineyard. We will show you on a map. On the map. But this is a good map. This is an educational map. So here is Massachusetts, where all the massholes live. And then you have, obviously, well, there's a couple places you can go. Out here is Cape Cod. Isn't it nice? It's Cape Cod. Then you have Nantucket, which is like, if, Martha's Vineyard is very nice, but Nantucket is very like, when in doubt, pinky out territory. But for Martha's Vineyard, here is Martha's Vineyard right here. Martha's Vineyard is here. This is one of the islands. And it's in the Vineyard Sound. Then there's Chappaquiddick. That name sounds familiar to you. Yes, that's the same Chappaquiddick where Ted Kennedy and Mary Jo Kopechne had a little bit of their drive turned into an impromptu swimming event. Actually, yes, Teddy and Mary Jo Kopechne turned that into an impromptu breath holding competition. Ted tapped out early and left, and Mary Jo, well, she didn't tap. She stayed till the bitter end. To put it bluntly. Ugh. The Bushes live in Nantucket, yes. Yes, Jim, it's where Democrats like to drown women. Yes. On Keffels? Are we talking about the AIDS or the dicks? Muffy, Buffy, these vermin are washing in our pew. Oh no. Teddy loves swimming there. Chappaquiddick. Teddy swims. Well, he had to get out of the car, Space Monkey. Ted Kennedy, expert drunk swimmer. Too bad she was passed out. If you do it, just cut it off, throw it at somebody. It'll traumatize them for life. Ted Kennedy won by default. No, he lost by default. He quit. He tapped out. He gave up. So, anyways, this is where they're talking about Martha's Vineyard. Okay, so it's a nice place to go. No lie. As the kids say, no cap. So anyway, going back to based Florida man, he sent a bunch of migrants to Martha's Vineyard. Well, hey, there's sanctuary cities and a sanctuary state. We'll give you people to have sanctuary for. So the people of Martha's Vineyard in Massachusetts thought, oh, you think that's an own? We'll show you how we take care of them. And they did. They put them up and they started doing things and started caring for them. They had their Spanish AP students come out to interpret, and they made, ethnic food for these people. And then, so they've been accused of engaging in people's lives for flying Venezuelan migrants to the wealthy island. 2 charter planes of about 50 migrants flew from Texas to Martha's Vineyard. And yes, DeSantis said every community in America should be sharing the burdens. Yes, we should all share together. Governor Abbott from Texas had taken 2 buses to drop off more than 100 immigrants from Colombia, Cuba, Guyana, Nicaragua, Panama, and Venezuela at the Naval Observatory where the vice president lives. Now, that is mean because the Naval Observatory is near some not nice places in Washington, D.C. Some like really, really bad places. And if Farron were here, I could tell you, like, where the Naval Observatory is not exactly nice. So, although for Venezuela, that's like still living in a war zone. So, they're okay. The anti-trafficking groups are saying this is trafficking. Well, when the government does it, apparently it's not trafficking, but hey, I guess. Acts of deception were reportedly used to bring the migrants onto the buses and planes. Really? I'm sure they said, hey, you want to get out of here? Massachusetts, they have all kinds of free stuff. I mean, who knows? Certainly, I'm not going to trust the people in Massachusetts about it. But anyways, they get to that point, and it keeps going, and then on Friday, instead of keeping at Martha's Vineyard, The governor of Massachusetts ordered the National Guard to help move the migrants to a more secure accommodation and a military base on Cape Cod. So they didn't want to keep them, and they took them to a military base, and they had the military round them up and transport them. Good job. I mean, at first, yeah, this was looking really good. They were taking care of them, but they gave them about a day, and they said, hey, hey guys, I'm going to use that word we taught. Is this how we say it? Vamos. Get on the fucking truck. And they did. They took him to Cape Cod. I guess they didn't want to keep him for that long. I mean, that's pretty fucking cold. We accept, love is love, and we accept all immigrants, and nobody's illegal. But get the fuck off the polo field. That's literally what they did. You're not illegal. You're welcome here. Get the fuck off the island. You're welcome here. Get the fuck out of my library. Makes you think, don't it? Yeah. Yes, it was on our front lawn. No. They called in 300 National Guard. Okay, well. Sky Queen saying, yes, the millionaires raised $36,000. Yes, the community was raising money, and that's all they could scrape together. They empty their wallets. Space Monkey Mafia. Yeah, if you don't want to be a pawn, stay off the chessboard. Yep. Hey, you came here and, hey, you jumped in the game. Yes, Jim's right. They couldn't handle him for 24 hours before they called in the military, taking him to an army base. Yep. Oh, everybody's welcome here until people actually, yeah. Once again, everybody likes to claim they're awesome until it's time to be awesome. The Venezuelan migrants are simply impressed by our relatively stable currency. Oof. Oh, if only they knew. Oh, if only they knew. What migrant wouldn't want to go to Martha's Vineyard? I know. Martin Sortel, first time catching you live. Cheers from the Czech Republic. Cheers. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it. Love your avatar, by the way. Okay. Yes. Moving on with the armies. How understanding. I know. Just like all those Cherokee, the army displaced. Vamos. Now you are speaking my language. At least they didn't use cattle cars. Well, not yet, but they might. We accept immigrants. We then call the army to get them the fuck off my lawn. Yes. Adios. Oh. $580 from Houston to Martha's Vineyard per person. It's not a bad flight. I mean, that's quite a long ways to go. May the odds ever be in your favor. Rogue Thought, yes, when words meet action, hypocrisy reveals itself. Yep. Oh, and then Governor Newsom, yes. Governor Karen, yes, he asked the government to look into DeSantis and Abbott for engaging in RICO, which is always funny. Earlier this year, politicians granted DeSantis $12 million to get migrants to other states. Geez, that's a lot of money to get rid of people. Both flights in Massachusetts touched down briefly in Florida en route between San Antonio and Martha's Vineyard, but DeSantis' office did not say if that was an attempt to meet the requirement of the program. Brilliant way of doing it, though. Yes, they're trafficking in people. No, they're not. They're just taking them somewhere nice and safe. They claim they were told there was a surprise for them and there would be jobs and housing awaiting for them when they arrived. This was obviously a sadistic lie. I'm pretty sure that's what they get promised when they're down in their home countries when they hear the president saying you can come here. So, oh, yes, I'm sure Rachel Self, yes, the Boston immigration attorney. I'm sure. They were all victims. Yup. Big mad, big sad. Um, White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre said that the governors were accused of lying to migrants and that did not notify the migrant children in need of food and shelter about to land on their doorstep. I'm pretty sure that in Texas, they don't get told when the migrants show up at the border and they're told to deal with it. So, yeah, it's kind of like they kind of know that feeling just a little bit. I don't know. Just me. Uh, so, I mean, what do you want? What do you want them to say there? Also, though, I really would ask her, like, the kids are still in cages, though. Why is that? I thought the kids weren't supposed to be in cages, but they still are. So, yes, and the ACLU starts crying. Oh, no, it's so sad. Wah, wah, wah. NBC reported the friction between the White House and the DHS about how to cope with the latest rise in unauthorized border crossings. Um, oh, fuck you, Guardian. I'm not paying you. Fuck off. You already hit the bottom. So, anyways, that's the good news there. So, Florida man keeps continuing to be based. And as my dad says, he does not want DeSantis to leave Florida because he loves his governor. I think it's time to give Florida man a chance in the White House. What better than a Florida man who's also Italian? And I could say this as I am Italian. Let's put a whop in the White House, folks. I mean, what can go wrong? We're due. Uh, Jim, you're saying they were just asked if they wanted to go live where Obama lives, and they said, is that even possible? And DeSantis said, yeah, I got a plane and I'll take you right there. Oh. Do you have reservations? Yes. Yes, meat candy. They scream intolerant, accepting tolerance. NIMBY? Yep. Okay. Obama House could probably house 50 people in his mansion alone in Massachusetts. Oh, I bet it could. I bet it could. I'll bet everything they were told by Florida officials would have been backed up by claims Massachusetts politicians had made. Oh, I'm sure. 100% sure. Eric the Red saying, I'm sure where they're shipped from Texas to bumfuck Iowa in the middle of the night, they're guaranteed jobs. And, oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm sure when they show up everywhere else, they're promised everything. Florida isn't safe from Dems. It's not, but Florida's safe enough. It's doing good. Bibbity boopity for president. DeSantis 2024. At first, when I saw this, I'm like, well, it sounds like Martha's Vineyard's new official motto is hippity hoppity, get the fuck off my property. And that's pretty much what happened. So, although it's hippity hoppity, security, get these men off my property. Space Monkey, I can't do that one. I might get trouble for that. Oh. Really liking this DeSantis guy. He seems to hit the right nerve consistently. Oh, we're slurring a little bit. Oh, yeah, DeSantis is going to cruise all the way. I wonder how many landscapers got captured. Yeah, all the landscapers and all their help just gone. They might have to fluff their own pillows tonight on the Vineyard. It's going to be horrible for them. Muffy, darling, where did the landscapers go? Well, I guess we can't go on the yacht today. No, the yacht. Ha ha. Sorry, I can't do that. I got to work on that. Yeah, I know. Migrants in your town. Call the military. Pope Rackets, saying, didn't they lose track of at least a third of the unaccompanied children? Yeah, a lot of children are disappeared. Sadly. Yes. No, wait. I was working. Help. Yes. Yes. Are you happy now, Jeeves? Oh, I dare say the grass is exceptionally long today. Where are the groundskeepers? Oh, Meat Candy saying, no, that's how the residents called them in. Yes. Hello, police, security. There's a gardener without influence in my front yard. Please escort them out. Jeez. I'm going to leave that one alone. I'm going to leave that one alone. Yes, the Wayfair thing. Yeah, that's still I'm going to leave that one alone too. We're leaving that one alone. You get the questions in here now. There's a lot of Russian collusion. Oh shit, everything's going to hell. Oh. Oh. So what else can we I remember. I need to look at the what do I got here? Oh, okay. Hold on here. A lot of people watching. Oh shit, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Hold on, guys. 1 second. We're looking for it. Oh, I remember what we're going to do. I saw these guys earlier. I know we cover them every once in a while. Denzel saying, what's worse than a Chechen or Polak or a Russian or even some North Korean? Probably government officials, doesn't matter what country. Yeah. Yes. That's the worst. Our government officials. Oh, Pope Brackets touching me. Not to sound like a complete lefty, but our government is the largest human trafficking organization. The FBI, the largest entrapment firm. The ATF, largest gun runners. And the CIA, all the above. Not really lefty. I mean, pretty based. No lies detected from me. CG saying no chance we elect a greaseball wop to the White House in 2024. Don't you tread on my dreams, homie. Don't you tread on my dreams. Yeah, Eric Thread is right. How does that sound left? It doesn't. Not at all. Not at all. Not at all. Oh crap, what was I looking for? Oh crap, what am I? Damn, why is this shit not working? Why is this not working? Fucking A. All right. Well, these guys were guys I covered from before. I talked about it a little bit on Thursday. We can talk about that a little bit too. Crazy night on the scanner in Chicago. Third shot in the head. In the last half hour protest tonight. Well, speaking of Chicago, I'll have to bring up my. Okay, so my Twitter profile for potentially criminal and then potentially Sean got nuked. This just Twitter, so you're aware. I've had this one for a lot longer. I'm not going to disclose what it is because I'm trying to keep that shit private so I don't get fucking nuked by you guys again. But we're going to talk about some things here. Where is I wanted to show the video of the Chicago graduates running around with full auto Glock 18s, but full auto Glocks, because that was a little interesting. Where is it? Damn it, it's gone. But I'm pretty sure this video is from Chicago as well, so we'll just run with it. We'll just run with it. Okay, we got to go backwards. Backward. Here we go. So, as much as these guys are gangsters, I will give them 100% credit. They have more balls than I do. They have more balls than most gun owners do. I'm talking about shall not be infringed. If you can tell, these cats have full auto Glock sear plates on the back of their pistols. And these are things you buy off wish.com and are 100% illegal as hell, and they still did it anyway. So I give them all the credit in the world. Because I ain't doing that. As much as I'd love to. I ain't putting that on the stick.
Stop playing with the stakes. Stop playing with the stakes.
I mean, look at that. They're all fucking full auto.
Geez.
All of them.
Glock check. Glock check.
Look how many
Glock
of them.
check. Y'all see all these switches and shit, man. All these Glocks, man. Stop.
I mean, I'm surprised none of them actually birded each other, but yeah. These switches have to be supplied by the feds. Yeah, well, Wish.com was selling them for a long time. Yeah, Wish Glock out. If you just type it in, you could find them for a while. It was actually very surprising. Oh crap, where are they? But there have been a ton of arrests for these also. But yes, they were yes, I'm sure they're not being more flags than the UN summit. Yes, they're untrained idiots, but I'm surprised nobody just burnt. Oh. Yes, I'm sure they're law abiding using tax stamps. Yes, yes, yes. Where is the Illinois? God, I had it up last night and I got rid of it. So yes, you know it's funny when when the comments that are in the news and the propaganda being pushed from people is yes, the experts explain why the Pretrial Fairness Act isn't the purge law. So they have to tell you why it's not. So you know that's good when they have to do that. So it's coming in the next it's coming on January 1st. So it's called the pretrial fairness. Does many things including pretrial fairness, which there are times I do think if courts impose cash bond on clients, they haven't been able to make it, and I think it's solely because they can't afford it. So there are times where I do think that is important because many times cash bond gets imposed, even a $10,000 cash bond or even a $2,500 cash bond. Not there are times a lot of people can't afford that. There are all kinds of issues with it though, because we've seen in other places like New York, especially in like New York City, that crime has increased in some situations. People go out and commit crimes and commit certain crimes knowing they can commit them. And even though they may get arrested and charged, they have to be released. So, state law, judges are allowed to determine a bunch of factors in granting them a recognizance bond. There are a couple of them though that will, the idea though they're non-detainable though, meaning you can't be arrested for it. That's not true. Now you might not be able to be jailed on it, and that's a separate matter. But it's not like the cops have to like just arrest you, cite you, and then you go on your own way. You'll get arrested, booked, and then you might get cut loose later. But it is going to be insane there. So but yes, the idea of cash bail eliminated completely is going to be an issue for a lot of people because that does create a problem. Because if everybody gets released, well, then who gets and who stays? Detention shall only be imposed when it is determined the defendant poses a specific and real and present danger or threat to a person or has a high likelihood of willful flight. Now, it does point out if there's a felony where probation is not an option, meaning it's a mandatory prison sentence, they can also be detained pre-trial following a court hearing. Which, okay, that's nice. That includes first-degree murder, sexual assault. But that said, though, if you get second-degree murder, robbery, burglary, arson, kidnapping, or aggravated battery, there's no requirement that you have a hearing about that because you are subject to probation. Now, to be fair, there are, which is weird because in Ohio, second-degree murder is a mandatory prison sentence. But these other crimes, yeah, robbery, burglary, arson, or kidnapping, or felony level assault, yes, you could theoretically get probation for those in Ohio, but you're still going to have a cash bond. You're not just going to walk out with a PR bond, a recognizance bond. If they have to explain it to you, that's how you know they're full of shit. Yes, but I do think the idea of non-detainable is not the 100%. It's not 100% correct. Memento Mori. Hey, how you doing? So 2023 will be crazy in Chicago. Crazier, I mean. Yes. Gun control. Pope Rackets touch me. Gun control systemic racism changed my mind. I can't because I 100% agree with you. Vicky T. What happened? Cool Frog just got yeeted big time. What? What did he get yeeted for? Do you know? Jim, I know. I think Jim, you're from Chicago, aren't you? Or you grew up there, or you have a really good tie there. They have to give bail jumpers a 48-hour head start too before they can start looking for them. And judges can't issue bench warrants until the offender gets served with a summons. Now, I hadn't found all that stuff out, and if that's true, yeah, that's a bit much. But I will say there are times where courts do fuck up serving things, and sometimes people get warrants, and I don't think it's 100% fair. So I'd have to see actually how that gets set up. I did hear about this. I agree. They're 48 hours before the police can check up on a disabled ankle bracelet, which when I have clients, if you're on an ankle bracelet and it shuts off or it doesn't work, you immediately call the probation or the police and tell them it's not working. So that way you don't ever get in trouble. You release them in Martha's Vineyard. Yes, cue the purge siren. Yes, I like the 48-hour response to having. Yes, yeah, and it's going to be a lot of people. Oh, he was playing a rugby game live. Oh, that'll do it. That'll do it. Okay, one of gets showing live Australian sports. Born and raised on the South Side, 40 years there. So I understand. Yeah, it's gonna, definitely understand why you have a special interest in that. But that's what I thought you mentioned before. Can't find Cool Frog Stream anymore. That sucks. Matthew saying it's Vicky T's birthday. Well, happy birthday, Vicky. Hope it's been a nice birthday, and hope the rest of today is good for you in that regard. And here's to cheers. I won't do a Nick toast, but it's a birthday. Another year down. Hopefully, it's been a year where you've been able to learn a lot. Hopefully, it's been a year full of more happiness than sadness, more highs than lows. It was more fat than lean. And here's to the next year being even better than this year. Happy birthday. Now I can also say happy popping out of your mom day. Yes. Yes, contrary to new pretrial system will not release every person arrested for a crime. You're right. Just the first degree murders and criminal assault people. But the robbers, some murderers, robbers, burglars, and arsonists and kidnappers can get out. That's not the only you think it is, buddy. So, yes, the law does show and impose higher standards who's a public threat or a flight risk. Prosecutors will have to show a specific identifiable person or persons rather than a general threat to the community, or they have to show a person has a high likelihood or willful flight. So apparently some states' attorneys are claiming that's a much higher standard than used throughout the country. But I think the idea of people are going to flee, I do think there are times that the courts do need higher burdens. I think there's too many times where I've had clients who I think have been detained unnecessarily. So there are a lot of things I don't agree with in this, but there are enough issues that I've had to deal with in practicing and dealing with this shit on a daily basis where, the prosecutor stands up, well, judge, he's a flight risk. And the judge goes, okay, cash bail, like $50,000. And my guy doesn't have that. He's never going to have it. His family's never going to have it. $50,000 might as well be $50 million. So there are times where I think it is obnoxious and unreasonable. But overall, yes, this doesn't sound good for the people of Illinois and the people of Chicago. It's probably only going to get worse. So, Matthew Raftery. Morning all. I just woke up and saw this still on. Isn't it in the middle of the night there? Yes, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to be wrapping up soon. Jim saying, I'm not regretting my decision to move to Florida in 2014 one bit. Neither did my parents when they moved to Florida. They haven't regretted it one bit at all. They love it. Especially as it's getting colder because now they're about to leave Ohio. Like coming up, like this week, they're leaving and going back. Grandma's asking, is 0th degree murder a thing? That'd be kind of funny. M2 saying you're going to be wrapping up soon. You sure about that? I think so. I mean, definitely probably by 3:30. I'm getting a little tired. I mean, I'll turn into one of those Twitch streamers, If you guys engage me a little bit more, probably. But I mean, like, really, I probably am going to wrap it up soon. So one thing I did want to cover, I know we've covered these guys before. I just think they're fucking awesome. These Australian people are, doing the crazy shooting out in long range. So you're asking, oh, well, I need to. Okay. So you're asking what was the first gun control law? Well, I mean, a lot of them were that slaves weren't allowed to own firearms, Indians weren't allowed to own firearms, anybody but white people aren't allowed to own firearms. But that's generally an issue of weapons control, period. You don't let slaves or the underclass learn how to use weapons and train and how to fight. I mean, you go to Europe, there's a reason why hunting is an aristocratic activity. Because oh shit, we're not watching this right now. There's a reason why hunting was an aristocratic activity. Fuck, I need to stop this. There's a reason why hunting, letting your underclass own weapons and use weapons. There's a reason why hunting in Europe is an aristocratic activity that not every man does or seen as something poor folk do. Because for the longest time, when you're the king, you don't want groups of guys picking up their swords and spears and bows, going out in the woods, living off the land, and hunting animals and killing them. Why? Well, they're now engaged in soldiering activities. They're living off the land. They're engaging in fieldcraft. They're using weapons tactics, increasing proficiency with weapons, team building and bonding, strengthening their communities. Gee, that sounds a lot like military training in a very basic nutshell. Well, you don't want an armed group of people running around without your supervision if you're king, because one day they might try to cut your head off. So that's why hunting was traditionally not seen as something you can do. Fuck for $2. Thank you for the super chat. Will you marry me? It's like, I'm already kind of thanks, but no thanks. And I'm feeling a beginning here just as about then. That's okay. If you want to go back and listen to me read stuff, you can. But glad you could stop by, Matt. Hope you're doing well. I know you were busy this week, so hope everything's going well for you, buddy. Yeah, get your coffee, enjoy it. Yeah, 750 pages. Yeah, there's all kinds of weird stuff in that law. The Chinese outlawed guns first. They invented guns, so that makes sense. Eat with stick, slave, or forks. Yeah, and don't forget, yes, back when white men were allowed to own guns, then did not include the Irish, who were considered potato N-words, or Italians, or Jews. A lot of people weren't considered. Aussie Overlord. Hey, Hayden, how you doing? Main gun control was the state legislation in each state after Port Arthur. And that might be the case, but I don't know, going back, if you know this through history of Australia, but were Aboriginals ever denied the right to own firearms? Because in America, there were multiple laws where you could not arm natives and you could not arm blacks. That was expressly forbidden. So I was just curious if that happens there. They're plotting the king's death. Well, if they got really good, they might realize, hey, we can take the king. Going back to the hunting. Furby slayers, and also by divine right the king to own all creatures on his land. Yep. CG saying you can't let those Catholics have guns. Don't need them getting any ideas. Hey, don't need guns. We'll just blow up Parliament instead. Trading guns to the natives could get you hung. Yes, it could. Get you hanged. They weren't considered citizens in some cases people. 100% correct. 100% correct. Oh, that's weird, Matthew. Your thing is like you have no more avatar anymore. Yes. That's correct. Anyway, these guys out of Australia, I love watching them because they do crazy. I love the long range shooting they do. It's pretty neat. And then there's another one I just wanted to watch. And if you guys haven't figured out, yeah, I like guns. Guns are fun. Let's see if we can. So he shot a 308 at 3,000 yards.
Hit. Beautiful. 12 o'clock. 4 inches top edge.
Jeez.
Wow.
And I think the other one's 6 o'clock.
Yeah. 3,046 yards. That's almost 10,000 feet. Oh.
Did not see.
Moving.
Is it moving? It's moving.
Yeah. Bottom edge.
I'm trying to see.
I think I can see it hit it. Oh, no.
Looks clean. Got good vision. Looks clean, but it's moving. Well, yeah.
We'll be right back.
All right.
Yeah, exactly.
Watch
Moved.
before it's good.
Sure did.
Goodness.
And we've got no wind to make it wiggle.
It was definitely like the target was hit.
Yeah.
I'll do it again.
Yep. Hit. Beautiful. 12 o'clock. 4 inches top edge.
Wow.
And I think the other one's 6 o'clock. Did not see.
Moving.
Is it moving? It's moving. I'm trying to see.
All right, sorry guys, I had to run back.
I think I can see it hit it. Oh, no.
There's one more. Hold on, I gotta stop this so I can find it. Let's see. Hold on. All right, found the second one. I've not watched this one all the way through yet, so we'll see if it's good. This is 8 MG42s versus a van, so we'll see. Mute. I did not mute. Oh, hold on, Jim. You were saying, yes, Pope Rackets, you're 100% correct. In California, open carry was a thing till a bunch of Black Panthers went to the courthouse or the state house, and then the government passed the Mulford Act. Yep. Do I have an M1 Garand yet? No, I think that's something I'll try to do before the end of the year. I need to make my way out to Camp Perry, which is just down the road from me, but I need to get one. Some list of things. I was kind of torn between that and working on a precision rig, but I need to get a Garand. I really, really do. Not too many left at this point. Are they Kiwis? No, they're Australians. Jim, you are saying every time I go to sleep, I go to sleep every night after saying a prayer to Justice Thomas for the NFA Gun Control Act, Hughes Amendment to be ruled unconstitutional. I think we're coming to that point. Maybe I say in the next 10 to 15 years, there's going to be some reckonings. So, yep, CMP is still selling. Yep, I know they are. And Garands are like the Volvos of rifles. Yeah, except these are cool, unlike Volvos. So, we'll get started. Let's see where this goes. Okay, let's get to the shooting. Okay. Also, if you've never shot one of these, they are a blast.
Be the best MG42 video ever made, period. I promise you there'll never be one made this good, or I don't think there ever will be one made this good. We are going to use 8 of these bad boys to shred a van today. We're going to be shooting tracer rounds. We're going to be shooting targets. You're going to see 100-round belts, 150-round belts, 50-round belts. We're going to shoot this in every angle, every single way possible through almost every mount. This is going to be a good one. So I've loved this gun so much since I was a kid. Even when Saving Private Ryan came out, I used to watch the beginning scene where they were up in the bunker shooting this thing. I bet I've watched it 1,000 times to hear this thing going off, because wow, it just sounded so awesome. And seeing that thing go off, ever since I was a little kid, I love this gun.
Okay, great. I
cannot
get it.
believe
You
that
like
I'm
them.
so blessed.
I get it. You like Garand. I get it. You like MG42s. Let's go to the cool part. Let's skip to the humping. There we go.
That's right, well fed.
Okay, come on. Let's get to like how we see this happen. Okay, that's actually not gonna lie. That's pretty cool. Okay, that's a pretty dope setup. That would be That would be a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Oh, that'd be cool range. Oh, look at that.
On there.
All right, here we go.
Columbia War Machine here. Today, we are going to shoot 8 MG42s versus this van. I mean, we are going to shred this thing. It's going to be 1,200 rounds hitting this thing in 6 seconds. You understand that? It is going to turn into Swiss cheese before our eyes in 6 seconds. This is going to be good. The last MG42 video, people complained about my music. There's no music today. It's just going to be getting it on. Yeah!
Here we go. Okay, that looks like a lot of fun.
Here's 8 MG42s. I mean, these are my favorite machine guns of all time. All on stands. I got a bunch of my guys helping me with this today.
That's a lot of double
You're
mounts.
gonna
Those
get
are
ready
pretty neat.
to shred this thing.
There are not a ton of those
I
available.
mean, I don't like Swiss cheese, but I'll tell you what, we're going to make some today. I can promise you that. Look at these bad boys, man. This thing is awesome. This is one of my favorites of all time. This thing is a beast. And I mean a beast. The buzzsaw.
That looks like an original Lafette tripod.
Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Oh, they're lighting it the fuck up. Holy shit. Look at all those holes. That's a lot of holes. Yeah, me, Kenny Slate talk more than he shoots. I know, but you know what? If I was filming this, I'd be talking a lot too. Is this a standard stoplight? Yeah, this is normally what happens in Chicago every weekend. Yes, well, folks, so much ammo. Yeah, it's like 50 cents a round. Yeah, back in maybe he had it before, but this guy, if he's got 8 MG42s, he's got enough, fuck you money. He can afford to do that. They paid more for the ammo than the fan. Just we're in the multiple Golden Eagle territory to pay for that ammo. Perfect timing. What fresh hell is this? Some America stuff going on. 8 MG42s versus a van. We'll keep it going.
I really hope you enjoyed that video because that video was awesome.
Yes, I did, and you probably had more fun than I ever will playing with that. That was pretty good. Yeah, Mr. K, you're 100% right. It's hard enough to make a 10-minute video. 6-second clips are great, but it doesn't do much for his YouTube numbers. Sure, no, I agree. He's got to talk and fill it because he can't just be 10 minutes of shooting. At Launder, Eric the Red saying at Launder Klitz police training. Oh. Yes, Jim, you're right. The German army still uses the MG42. It is now called the MG3, but they are phasing it out for a couple different HK, the MG4, and I believe the MG5 they're working on, in addition to using the HK27 setup in a heavier support role. So yes, but that is stopping soon too. The Portuguese, I think, are still using it, but yeah, that's getting phased out. Also, the Swedish army still uses it too. I think they're phasing it out as well. Oh, and then I guess one more thing, we'll show this quickly. We will show this. I just think it's a little bit of an interesting video. Is Chrome tab. This one I thought was interesting because this happens in my, well, if you ever happen to go on my website, you'll figure out where my PO box is for my law firm. This is in the town I live. So here we go. This is Willoughby, Ohio, last Saturday.
Gate 12 radio traffic stop.
Little interesting.
Gate 12. Lost Nation in the airport with Tom, Henry, Ocean, Robert, Edward, 1. Hello. I'm Officer Willoughby Police Department. The reason why I'm stopping you is speed. 57 and a 35.
To be fair, everybody speeds down this road, even me. And people driving 50 down, it's pretty normal.
You're going 57 and a 35, sir. You have your driver's license, proof of insurance. Why are you getting out of the car, sir?
This guy is 64 years old just to help set the scene. He is 64.
My driver's license. 12 radio, this male just stepped out of the vehicle. Step over here now. Have a seat on the ground. Have a seat.
I'm not sitting. I'm not sitting!
Back off! Back up!
I'm not sitting, motherfucker!
We're getting physical. Put your hands behind your back.
I'm not.
I will tase you, sir. Touch the vehicle. Put your hands on the fucking vehicle now!
What the fuck? Son of a bitch!
Radio, send me units. Roll over on your stomach now. Fucking ground.
Knock it off, man! Knock it off now! Get your arm behind you!
Put your arm behind your back. Hey, get your cuffs. Get your cuffs.
Shut up! Shut up!
You don't do that to a woman. Do you understand me?
I thought you don't do that to a woman. You're a cop, lady. You're not a woman.
Cop or not, you don't do that to a woman.
The other cops don't get to say that when they get punched in the face. You don't get to say, like, you're either a woman, you're either a cop or you're not. Not that you're a woman.
Right, Jake, come on.
Take your time. What the fuck? Don't do that to a woman. All right, you guys.
All right.
You're good up here. You're good.
Male's detained at this time. Could you slide?
You know, who raised you? Well, fighting the cops is the issue, not the fact you're a woman.
Roll on your side. Stand up.
Now, that's a great way to turn a speeding ticket into a possibility of going to prison for 18 months. So, good job on him. Is this supposed to show women are able to police? Nothing. I just was showing, hey, she was a girl boss mode and didn't really work out that way. I don't know why she didn't tase him from the start, but that's not my call. So, she's lucky that guy stopped to help. Yeah, because the other cops are still like a minute or so away. Thank God Ohio Man was there to help. Yeah. I mean, I am surprised those guys didn't river dance on him a little bit, but I'm also surprised that guy didn't break his hip getting thrown to the ground with another dude on top of him. So, yeah, that poor second cop's like, who's who? And that's a risk. If you're like helping the cops, they don't know who you are. You might get kind of wrapped up into stuff. Yes, Eric the Red. Equality. So, but that said, I do know the officer involved. She is a good officer. She does not one of the ones I ever suspect to ever do anything bad, which is nice because you can't always trust cops to be upright, but she does a good job. And he is currently sitting in, he's got charges, and like I said, he's got felony charges. Assaulting police officer is a felony in Ohio, so he turned that speeding ticket into 6 to 18 months in prison, possibly. Now, hopefully, he gets probation out of it, but the county this is in, they might send him or put him in jail for a really long time. Oh. What would I have done? Personally, I would have yelled World Star. I don't know. Kind of torn. Doesn't look like if those guys just walk off, sure, maybe. Because I can't go on TV and be like, yeah, I'm a defense attorney and I'll help the cops. Not good for the brand. I mean, really not good for the brand. But I mean, if I saw a cop and they were truly in danger and I would help them. If I'm carrying let's say I was seeing a cop almost get killed, or it was in a situation where they had self-defense issues, I would act in self-defense for them. I don't want to see anybody get hurt or killed. So I feel like I would act if it came to it. Me, Candy. The old man had had a recipe for cupcakes in his pocket, and she really wanted them. Oh, funny. You're a funny guy, Sully. So yeah, that's it for me tonight, guys. You guys got anything else to say real quick? I'm gonna. So that's it for me, guys. Yeah, and we're going to finish up here. Why did she demand he sit on the ground? Well, at that point, the cops, you're out of the car. You're not 100% listening to the cop at this point. Yes, sitting on the ground minimizes your ability to move and creates an ability for them to try to control you. So I understand why she wanted him to do it. She had every legal right, because at that point, he's getting out of the car, being non-responsive. He has the ability to do that. So she legally can have him sit on the curb to try to chill him out. Yeah, I really do need to get one. I really do need to get one. And then later, folks. Later, Daniel. Matthew, thanks again for being here. I always appreciate it. Sure, folks, have a great evening. Jim, have a great evening to you too. So yeah, thanks everybody. Glad you guys enjoyed the show tonight. Everybody, please give me a like. Sure would appreciate it. Subscribe if you do like it. And until next time, just because you did it doesn't mean you're guilty.